Okay. All right.
Opening thing. First thing you see, Sony logo. In my brain, I'm like, oh boy, I just saw Kraven the Hunter. I know what that means. I'm about to see a shitty movie.
Hold on. So that's the first thing you remember from the opening? I remember saying Tencent.
Oh yeah, no, it's a Sony. I wrote Sony logo. Oh boy, Tencent Pictures. Oh no.
Like,
and then I see Toho, and I'm like, well, maybe. But no, I was wrong. And then I wrote fucking dumb quote about New Worlds. And then I found out, oh, you know what? That's an Albert Einstein quote. So it's a dumb quote from Albert Einstein about New Worlds. I didn't even bother fucking writing it down. Who gives a shit? But that's how you know a movie's real stupid, when they put a quote at the beginning to make you fucking think that the movie's smart. Opens up.
That's an awkward thing to do.
It's very weird. Just because it had the words "New World" in it.
See,
Albert Einstein's a smart person, so Albert Einstein's like, "No, I'm going to put that in there." That makes sense.
I didn't even remember that happening.
It was stupid. I didn't even read it. I saw a quote at the beginning of the movie, and I was like, "That means this movie's going to be real bad." And then I didn't even read the quote.
You could do that in a sequel if you have things to build upon. The quote has context.
Oh well,
built upon. This did not. I don't remember that quote.
I was gonna say, if you know,
I don't remember seeing the quote in the beginning of this movie.
I mean, if you want to see a quote that's memorable, Ed, you're familiar with this. Have you seen Nightmare on Elm Street? I think it was 4 or 5.
I've seen them all. Because
it has some kind of quote at the beginning, like, some kind of dumb Nietzsche or Albert Einstein quote, and then after it's just like, here's another quote for you. Welcome to prime time, bitch. Freddy. And I'm like, that's a good quote. This movie's going to be good.
And if it was 4 or 5, well, I guess people like 3 more.
3's the one where the line's from.
Right, I remember that. Yeah. But people liked 3 the most, and no one liked 2. So for me.
Yeah, of course. But yeah.
We're going to talk about horror movies today.
So yeah, dumb quote about Albert Einstein. And then it opens up on a ship sailing on the sand. Hell fucking yeah.
This opening scene kicks ass.
Until you remember, oh wait, this is the new world. That desert's in the old world. What's that doing here? Inconsistency, nerdy nitpick.
See, I don't care
nerdy
about
bullshit nitpicking.
Listen,
I'm gonna go a couple of. I'm gonna pepper in my actual criticism with nerdy, shitty, fucking nitpickingness. But yeah,
we're getting a little trolly here.
Of course.
Okay, take that aside. This opening scene is awesome, and this is where the movie should have been the focus on, because the movie. I mean, again, this is. I get that. Yes. 4 Ultimate and World mixed in this scene. But this was a nice way to also be able to mix the 2 old and new levels of Monster Hunter fans together. Because there's a lot of people
imagery that they all know.
Because there's you think about it, like, there are probably a lot of Monster Hunter fans who, with the switch to World and Rise, don't like it. And that is, for 100%, for the record, valid. You are not wrong for thinking that. If you are that person, if you don't like the modern Monster Hunter takes, that is completely valid, because they are very different despite being the same core concept. But that opening scene on the ship, the 4 Ultimate ship, with characters dressed from World, that is a great way, I think, of mixing the 2 together.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that the only tease we have of the Genmaron is a fucking skeleton, but I can also understand it a bit, because you need to throw out the threat of the Diablos.
It wasn't Duranmaron?
It was Diablos.
No, not the Diablos, the skeleton, later. I thought it was Duranmaron. What the fuck is the
Galamander?
other? No. What's the other Moron? The other, the Moron, the big whale thing you're fighting for.
I thought that was the Genmaron.
No, this is a different one.
Okay.
Whatever.
Now we just lost our credibility. I know, now we're like a couple
of fools. Listening. But yeah, cool scene on this. And then we see Ron Perlman and the cosplay gang in their very authentic outfits. Very fun. They're just kind of still just like.
There's the Genmaron. I was right.
Genmaron. What's the other Moron? What's the actual sandy one? Because Genmaron seems like the second one you fight, I feel like. But yeah, we see some
Monster Hunter.
We see some cool ass Diablos sailing behind them. Oh,
yeah, okay. Genmaron. Wait.
There's too many.
Okay, I think that Genmaron, is the Underwater 3 one. That's that big. That big one you fight like literally underwater.
Yeah, and it's Duran Moran, right?
Duran, you're right. Duran Moran is the sand one. Yeah. So I think that was the Duran.
Thank goodness I got my credibility back. I win. The movie's bad.
Listen, when it comes to where Korra fights Unalaq, I'm always correct. When it comes to Last Airbender and Korra lore, I'm always right. When it comes to monster names, I will admit that is not one of my strong points. I apologize for that, and I was wrong. And I will give you that.
I appreciate your apology.
I give you that one thing here.
And we give you your flowers for the Korra thing. And we literally the only time I've ever in my podcast paused to fact check something. But yeah, so the Diablos are kind of like, sand striking behind the boat, and they kind of tackle it a bunch, and they're like, oh, Diablos! And they kind of scream out. And then, of course, we see Tony Jaa's guy trying to help somebody not get knocked off. I don't know if it's the serious handler or somebody else.
He was the handler.
One of them, yeah.
It was the handler.
There's a serious handler, and then there's like the regular one from World.
It was the chipper, happy one.
Yeah, but then of course he gets knocked off and falls in the sand and left unconscious. And then we get the fucking main thing of the movie. It switches over to our world, and then I go, oh boy,
yes,
it's some vague desert.
Okay,
and they are a United Nations.
Wait. We're gonna take it.
We're only 2.5 hours into the episode of this gonna be probably 5-hour-long podcast.
I did tell my wife it would be a 5-hour recording, and it's also, this is something that we of course love.
Yeah,
and this film is
gonna be a lot.
A lot. Okay, so first off, there are things I will defend about what we did get in this movie, but I will say that at the end of the day, this right here should have been the story that we got.
You mean the boat?
The boat, not even just the boat. We should have been following the hunter on his way back.
Yeah.
And you could even throw in Mila Jovovich, and you could even fucking do her out of fucking world thing.
Yeah.
But made him the main character story focus. I think because, again, he legitimately, I will argue this, Tony Jaa was perfect in this movie. The only flaws in his performance were caused by things outside of his control. Yeah, he looked great.
He's a great actor.
He acted great.
He fights great. Yeah, he's great.
Every scene that he was in, he elevated to be a fantastic scene. Mm-hmm. And he should have been and deserves to be the focus of this film.
Nope, bonked on the head, left in the desert. Now we switch over to the real heroes, the United Nations Joint Response Team.
They were called?
Now, when I say Monster Hunter,
they were Marines.
No, no. They were no specific country's army. They were the United Nations Joint Response Team in a vague, unnamed desert in a country you don't know because we don't want to offend our Chinese audience. They can't be U.S. soldiers because
But they were all American.
Huh? What?
They were all American.
What are you talking about? It's an international group of multicultural people.
They were white and black.
No.
They were all white guys.
No, you see the guy's,
one white woman.
Did you see the guy's knees?
There was one black woman and one black guy.
No. United Nations Joint Response Team.
They sing about being in the army.
Be quiet, you. Mila Jovovich is their boss.
Okay.
Artemis. What a great idea. What a great, clever name.
But why did they call her Artemis and she uses fucking dual blades? That shit pisses me off.
Yeah, well, I think her real name is Artemis, which is just stupid because goddess of the hunt. See how smart Paul W.S. Anderson is? I didn't
even think about. I just thought Artemis, the archer, she should be using a bow.
No, the goddess of hunting. Yeah,
the hunter uses the bow. She doesn't use dual blades.
Dual blades, stupidly. But then we have another little. Of course, we have all the guys. Let me see what the fuck these assholes' names were. There is Jin, who makes the racist joke that got this movie destroyed. There is Axe, who is a white guy you can't remember. Then there is Steeler, the squinty-faced white guy who me and you may know from previously on this very podcast in X-Men Apocalypse. He played William Stryker.
Stryker was in that movie?
Yeah, the young Stryker who came and arrested them after Professor X was controlled by Apocalypse and made everyone freeze for a second.
I vaguely remember.
He captured them for a second. He's like, "Hey, who was that?" And then he was out of the movie because he was main in First Class. He was like in a lot of. Remember?
He was in First Class?
He was in First Class for a lot of it, yeah. And then he had a stupid little cameo where he kidnapped them. He kidnapped 5 main characters for no reason, and then disappeared from the movie after that because they escaped. Anyway, he also played Albert Wesker in the later Resident Evil movies when it got goofy. He played Wesker in those movies.
I don't even remember Wesker being in the other movies.
Oh, it's hilarious. Look up those scenes. He's bad. But yeah, he's playing Steeler.
You say randomly kidnapped out of nowhere and have nothing to do with it. I just, for some reason, I'm thinking of, was it Fast 9 or Fast 10 where 2 people get kidnapped and go up into the Antarctic and have to steal a submarine.
Yeah, and they just do that. They bust out and look with no protection and just
it was Michelle Rodriguez and the Charlize Theron characters.
Yeah.
That's what I think of when you say
randomly kidnapped for no reason.
Yeah.
No. The plot needed him to go see Wolverine for a second. But anyway, back to this bad movie. Megan Good, yay! My childhood crush. She's playing Dash. Of course, you'll remember all these characters because they're very important. A Big Dumb Storm, I wrote. T.I., I guess, was he with Bravo Team? I don't know where he was. Just like there by himself.
He was with them.
No, he wasn't. They found him. They came across him when they were going towards the desert.
No, they all came together.
No, they ran into T.I. He joined them.
What? I swear to God,
I'm pretty sure T.I. was like not with them. He joined them, and then the next scene he was just riding in the truck with them.
No, he was in
they were
the
going
truck
to
with them.
No, I think they rode him to a post or something he was at to like try to find Bravo Team, and then he joined them. I think.
I swear to God, he was with them the entire time.
I mean, really, it doesn't matter. But I assume whatever. Maybe I'm wrong.
There's 5 total, right, or 6 total?
I think
there was
Axe, Jin, Steeler, Dash, Artemis, and T.I. The rapper T.I. That's 6 total.
There was 2 guys in the one like go-kart machine gun buggy, and then the other one, I swear to God, always had 3 people in it. There was always the driver, someone on the turret, and then someone in the back.
I don't know, but the important thing is T.I. has a family.
Nope, there was always someone next to them, seemingly.
See, whatever, who cares? Yeah, T.I. has a family. Mila Jovovich has a ring.
That ring never came back.
Nope,
after
sure
the
doesn't.
one time.
I think she finds it at one point later.
She does, and then it still doesn't come back.
And then this is when another one of the fucking movie's most major. They trapped in the big storm as it hits them,
which pissed me off too because they drove away from it, and when they realized it was going faster than them, they kept driving away from it. It's like at a certain point, like you're gonna get caught by it. Why don't you try to go through it? Because at the very least, then you're not just
getting caught in it and then stuck in it for longer.
Right? Yeah. That's like
It's very dumb, but guess what? This whole movie is dumb. This is one of the major issues I have with this movie. The next thing that happens is the most insane.
They survive that crash?
No, there's in a 60-second scene, I would say there are no less than 50 camera cuts. It is insanely it's like flash. And it's like insanely dramatic, almost like seizure inducing, like a fucking strobe light. And then I saw online somebody was talking about it. As a joke, them and their friends timed what the longest shot in this entire movie is. Like the longest single shot.
From the beginning into the end?
No. Like editing wise.
The entire of the movie.
Yeah, like the longest a camera stayed in one shot in the movie. And guess what? It was 27 seconds. Really? The longest shot in this movie of any still frame before the camera jumped to something else was 27 seconds. This scene has I told you, in a 60-second scene, it had about 50 cuts, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck was going on? And that was just them landing out of the stupid storm, be afraid of the storm behind them, getting caught in the storm, and then being tossed out in the middle of the fucking desert. Where they finally get to.
Should not have survived.
No, that shit was like fucking throwing their goddamn car.
They were all, at the very least, someone should have died from that. Yeah. But they didn't.
Yeah, and they come across the big stupid remains of the Bravo team Jeep and shit.
Well, hold on.
Yeah, you go off on that.
I wrote down.
What the fuck happened?
I wrote down a joke and then also.
Is it about knees?
No, it's not.
I bet that's what replaced it.
So someone says, "What is that?" So my joke was a better setting with better characters that we won't see much of or enough of. And then also they, someone goes up. It's like, "Hey, you got to see this." And I wrote, "You got to see this trope."
Yeah, I know. Real original lining because Paul W. Sanderson is a very original director.
So I did also write the Bravo team investigated by another team with Mila Jovovich. This is Resident Evil via Anakin Skywalker Nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the okay, I did scratch it because technically, so they said they somehow crash in this desert, somehow survive. Were in a desert setting.
Yeah, it's very confusing. They were in a desert, they went to another desert, and they were
like
to
a sand desert.
Yeah.
But they also act as if it's like completely...
It's almost like they found the cheapest fucking shooting locations in Africa and China and decided to make the whole movie there because this movie's bad and dumb.
Yeah. But also, too, so when they find Bravo Team over the sand dune after, you gotta see this, they're... I don't get. They say they fire a bunch of rounds, but there's no tracks. And then they mention the glass. It's like, what's hot enough to... First off...
They don't know what sand is. They don't know what glass is. That glass is made from sand. They're all fucking morons.
Right, that pissed me off. But also, too... Okay, there was no bodies, there were no tracks, and there was just the glass. But So you're telling me there wasn't even, like, ash anywhere left? There wasn't, like... But the trucks survived, and the rounds survived.
Yeah,
but the bodies didn't survive.
Yeah, there weren't like no skeletons or anything there, right?
Yeah,
which also doesn't make sense because everyone knows Diablos is a fucking herbivore. But
no, it wasn't. That was the Rathalos attack. They got attacked by
Rathalos,
the fire was there.
Yeah, the fire was there.
Which also was confusing
because you never see a Rathalos anywhere near the fucking desert.
Yes,
because this movie's dumb.
Yeah. So that pissed me off with this because okay, they're dead. Who cares? We all knew they were dead. Mm-hmm. They transported the world and got killed. But at the same point, nothing made sense about it.
Yeah, it's very stupid.
Especially because they're being attacked by Diablos.
Yeah, well, of course, before that, they see Tony Jaa. We see in the distance, seeing them as they're riding in the desert, singing the stupid army song.
What the fuck was this singing?
I don't know.
I
mean, I'll say that out of this whole piece of shit movie, that stuck in my head for some fucking reason. Stupid, dumb army song.
Because it was it was out of nowhere.
It was out of nowhere, and it goes on for so long, and I'm like, this is a Monster Hunter movie. What the fuck am I watching?
Again, I'll give them this. The opening at least moved. They got told, we're hunting Bravo Team. They were already at that place. We didn't have to spend 10 minutes of them gearing up, flying there, launching, going over the full details of the mission, and then showing up at the location. They were just there.
Yeah.
And they get close. Storm, run away. Here's a storm. All right, we're in the Monster Hunter world. That went quick, and I will say, at the very least, we did not waste 50 minutes getting to the Monster Hunter world. Because how many times have you seen a movie where they spend 50 minutes on fucking Earth?
I couldn't imagine if this movie could possibly waste 50 minutes. We'll get to it. But
I appreciated that.
They got to the world. As inexplicable and stupid as a plot device it is, they did land in the world. They landed from one desert to another inexplicably, very quickly, Ed.
They did, and listen.
That's nice, I guess. I'm glad we didn't spend, but they could have been in any kind of other fucking environment than a goddamn other desert. What a stupid fucking
idea. I agree with that, but at the very least, we didn't spend.
What a dumb thing to do. The Diablos is back. This is one of the funnest scenes because it just jumps out of the fucking sand and starts beating people's asses. Now,
it's straight up chasing one dude, right?
Now, Ed. What the fuck, this goddamn Diablo? Its body is different from a real Diablo. Its arms were weird. But besides that, that's my nitpicking shit. Is this a fucking black Diablos or a regular fucking Diablos? Because it looks like a fucking black Diablos.
It does.
And it acts like a black Diablos.
It definitely
does. But they only refer to it as a regular Diablos.
I think there was a black Diablos, and I think that this was a case of... if you just called it a black Diablos, you have to know what a Diablos is to know what a black Diablos is.
Yeah.
So I will defend this. I think that it's okay to use the black Diablos because it looked intimidating, and trying to call it that would also wouldn't make sense if you don't know it, and B, they've already had to deal with the whole stupid Chinese joke.
Yeah.
I guarantee you...
They didn't want to call it a black Diablos?
Exactly.
Well, then why the hell make it a black Diablos? Just make it a regular fucking Diablos.
At times, though, it did look a little bit...
But also, this brings up to another thing with the CGI on the... I think they made it fucking... I think it's supposed to be a regular Diablos because the horns are a little bit lighter. And it's not all black. Like I said, a reviewer I watched described it as it looks like it's made out of burnt clay. Which is weird because it's literally color-wise in between a fucking regular Diablos and a black Diablos, which is a weird choice. I think they made it darker to make it more scary and evil looking.
It's also... the only possible that reason I can think is because they were in such a bright setting, and also the lighter sand, making it that same color possibly would have created issues.
Yeah, maybe
in terms
CGI,
of green screen CGI
Yeah, the CGI
stuff.
would have been a little bit difficult having a tan monster against a bunch of sand coming in and out of sand all the time.
Yeah.
But
So you needed to visually
guess
see
what?
it.
Another idea about that. Don't make it a fucking Diablos, because guess what? This thing doesn't act very much like a fucking Diablos.
There were a lot. It definitely did
It
feel
acts more
weird
like a fucking
times.
Zamtrios. Because like I said, it's a fucking like, it's like constantly underground surf sharking, like a fucking the fucking, what's it called, the like I said, the Tiger Zamtrios. Yeah, it's very weird behavior for it, but I guess he just wanted to be some kind of creepy sand demon that's impossible to pass.
See, I did not. Again, this is where we're going to start having arguments. I thought that, again, some of the behavior was odd, but on the same side of things, I thought that Diablos was a good choice of monster. It's something that Monster Hunter fans are going to recognize. Again, the coloration, I agree, because I even, especially near the end of it, especially later on in the film, it looked like it got darker.
Yeah.
It definitely got darker on it. But again, that one I'll say there's probably logistical things for that.
But I'll say
I'll fight on that.
I would say they probably picked it because it looks very visibly distinguishable from the Rathalos specifically.
Yes, and it's also like
another fun choice would have been something like a T-Rex, but I guess that would be too similar to a Rathian for them.
T-Rex,
and it would also be insanely fun. I mean, could you imagine the fucking fast ass fucking screaming fucking bastard dragon running back and forth, knocking everything? That'd be fun. But Diablos is an interesting choice because it's a very visually interesting monster for basics.
And I think, and see, I'll argue, I think that tunneling, we only ever see it in the games for the most part in a much more closed environment. Yeah. So like, and it does, if you think about it, it does go down into the sand a lot.
It does dig a lot, especially depending on the breed. Yeah.
In Rise, that thing, half its attacks are digging underground and coming up at you. And it's also, Diablos is a scary sounding name.
Yeah.
Like, you hear the word Diablo, everyone, whether you speak Spanish or not, Diablo, devil.
Yeah.
We all know
big
that.
Old crazy horns is dark and crazy looking.
And
yeah.
it was a visually striking. And okay, we're gonna talk about the CGI here. We talked about the coloration a bit. I thought it and all the monsters, there's no such thing as perfect CGI. But these monsters, if I'm going to say one thing about it, I think that the CG team did fucking incredible with these monsters. There are, I know that there are nitpicky things that we can pick apart and all that, and I don't even think that is invalid. But looking at it from a more casual or less thousands of hours person, it's recognizable, it's distinct. They looked like the reference, like, again, if you look at the fine details, we'd probably be able to find the flaws.
Yeah.
But I mean, how many films have we seen that have shit looking CG that you look at it and it's like, oh, that's just nothing.
Yeah.
These
the monsters,
real and they had
the monsters
feel
looked
to
great.
them.
There's some bad CGI later we'll talk about, but the monsters looked great. I think the Diablos looked great for its indistinguishable coloring. The Rathalos, I also had some issues with the coloring I was confused about, but we'll get to that when we get to it. I'll get to the Nersillas in a second. But the Diablos, I think, like I said, it looks beautiful.
The Nersillas, I'll probably agree with you on a bit more on.
Yeah, there's lots to argue because I like Nersillas.
The Nersillas, that's a whole conversation.
But yeah.
But I think the Diablos,
Diablos.
I think the Diablos was a good choice. I think it looked good. And I'll even say the behavior, again, this is, I think, the failure of the Diablos in this film don't come from the actors, the special effects team, anything like that.
No, of course, no. It's just,
I don't even think somewhat of the script, the base script. I don't think the writer itself is the problem. I think what it is, I've been hinting at it. The director, the producer, the advertising, and I don't even want to say the writer, and I don't want to say the editor, but the person who's got the final say on the script.
Usually that's a director.
Then yes, the director.
But yeah,
that was what fucked this movie over, because that the end scene reignited why I said this was a bad movie.
I told you.
I went back.
I've already watched that
film.
seizure-inducing ass fucking overly cut piece of shit scene. Now back to my fucking shitty asshole nitpicking minor shit thing.
Now that we're done with the fucking the total shit from the singing.
Yeah. After they sing,
he stabbed the dude, right?
Yeah, a guy got impaled on the Diablos' horn, which is very fun. It knocked the shit out of a car, and that's when
which is again, I appreciated. It was
Axe,
PG,
and Jin
but it was brutal.
Died. Axe and Jin died. I don't know, not those two characters we know and love from this movie.
I thought it was Steeler.
No, Steeler dies in a second. But first, Axe and Jin are killed, and their car gets knocked like a fucking million miles away. They're shooting it with a machine gun. Little fucking minor production shithead nitpick. The fucking belts on the machine guns are not moving as they're firing weapons. Which I saw a guy point out this is very funny.
I didn't even notice it, but
it's just a minor thing.
Maybe it's just me. Whenever I see someone using like a turret, I think video game logic of it's infinite ammo as long as it's a turret.
Yeah, those usually need to be built like fed by somebody else and stuff like that. But like, and of course, military freak fucking nitpick number 2. She screams, "Get the RPG!" That is not an RPG. Excuse me, that is an LAW-22. That is a light anti-tank weapon. It is not an RPG. How dare she? These people don't know what they're doing. Worst movie ever. Eventually, Steeler is killed by getting impaled by the horn.
Then the Diablos
it chases them into the cave. Eventually they get into the cave. This is when.
So it impaled 2 people?
No. He hit one truck that had 2 people in it.
No, he impales someone he impales the dude on the turret. The Diablos comes up and impales the dude who's on the turret. Mm-hmm. So there's 5. Then
do not try to count these assholes because they do not matter.
They get to the cave, I thought.
Yeah, they get to the cave. They're hiding for like a moment. Is it what the hell is that thing? They're freaking out because they need to get to the RPG, which is stuck on the car. But then Nursilla drops out of nowhere and stabs Mila Jovovich. My phone keeps correcting Mila to Mika. But
okay, real quick, I'm going to mention this is my take on it. That Diablos chase scene. Again, I agree. I can nitpick aside on the belt because I just think video game logic, especially because I just played. Which, by the way, quick aside, do what games surprisingly held up? The Halo games.
They're
I
great.
played through those before I got my PS5.
I mean, you didn't play through fucking 4, I hope.
I didn't finish 4, actually, ironically.
I the one with the stupid Lightbringer and all those fucking Prometheans or whatever.
I never got I got a few missions in.
Yeah.
But I was playing through 1, 2, 3, even ODST, Reach especially. I was surprised by how well they held up. Yeah. I really enjoyed those.
A fun where modern military stuff makes sense as opposed to this fucking thing.
But again, I think that Diablo scene was terrifying. It had a gruesome death without having to be overly gory.
Yeah, there was no blood.
I'm sure
that's a 10-cent mandate more than anything.
Right. But like I felt like this set the scene, quick. It was quick. It was maybe too quick, but it was intense, and it carry them to the next scene in a way that wasn't a jump cut. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So I even wrote, I said, Diablo scene for the poor premise was kick-ass and the effects are credible looking.
Yeah.
Poor premise, good execution. I will fucking die on that hill in this.
Yes, and that was a very, very cool 2 minutes out of this hour-and-a-half movie.
Also, they fucking should have pulled a goddamn Scream here, and Mila should have straight up been killed in the scene.
That would have been fucking wonderful. Then Nursilla comes out and stabs her. That would have been fucking... Oh, there was another one. I think Executive Decision or some of those like 90s military movies where like the president's in trouble. And like... Steven Seagal is like hyped on all the trailers and hyped on the movie, and he's part of some team trying to rescue him, and then like immediately that whole team is like killed and knocked out of the plane. And it's just like 10 minutes into the movie, it's like, oh my god, the whole movie was supposed to be about him. But yeah,
I wish they'd done something
no,
like that.
No, of course not. He can't let anything bad happen to his stupid wife. He loves her too, but he's a wife guy, as they say. Like all those people, it's like his whole life revolves on that wife, and that's a good thing, I guess.
Or you know what, even and again, we'll argue because the Nursilla scene has, I think, a lot of shit. Mm-hmm. There's a lot good and bad, and I know we're going to argue on stuff. We're not the Nursilla
scene yet. We're at the Nursilla popping up and stabbing her first.
So, but I think that her being stabbed should have actually led better into the hunter. I think
taking over.
That could have been
rescuing her. Yeah, him. That would have been good. But we'll speculate on better plots later because that's the whole section I'd asked you guys about too. She gets stabbed and immediately falls unconscious, foaming at the mouth crazily. They leave her.
They leave her.
Yeah, they leave her ass. And then I wrote more Nursilla spawn. Are these Nursilla? They're tiny. I thought are these? Actually, I've heard them as Nursilla spawn because I thought they were babies. I thought they were supposed to be babies.
Yes.
A, there's so many, and B, they're so small. I was like, oh well, surely these aren't supposed to be real Nursilla. In the meantime, Marshall dies. Not Marshall. The best character.
Okay, his death was fucking, like, again, despite there not being gore, it was brutal. He gets lifted up by an Ursula and literally chomped in half.
Yeah, by
its creepy
mandibles. Yeah,
and these and again,
there's a fun scene where Megan Good was freaking out about oh my god, what the fuck? She's actually freaking out because of this insane situation, and I was like, some nice acting by Megan Good because like I said, I love her. But yeah, they're freaking out.
Megan Good, come on our podcast.
I wish that'd be so great. You can bring your husband Jonathan Majors from King the Conqueror on. You can.
She married him.
Oh yeah. No. She married him recently, and they're having a kid. The allegations were with somebody else.
I would say I thought things had turned to be less aggressive towards him. I don't remember.
I mean, I think he was acquitted, but I don't know. I didn't follow up on the information at all. But it wasn't she was not involved in the allegations. She was just married to him.
So for the record, just because we're mentioning this, and I don't know the full details. I thought I remember hearing. I understood the allegations against him. I swear to God, I thought they had turned out to potentially been false. I might be misremembering. There's been a lot of terrible things happening.
Too many bad things happening at once.
So many things bad happening at once.
But Megan Good's wonderful.
And so like if I'm wrong on that, I apologize. And then like.
Yeah.
Also, too, whether
we have got to get through this movie. We're
whether
almost
or not
at 3 hours.
True or not, they believe victims anyway.
Yeah. Dash freaking out. The guy gets his head chomped. In the meantime,
Dash is
Megan Good.
Okay, yeah, she's getting her head chomped. The guy,
no, yeah,
he got his head chomped, which again was brutal, and I liked it, and I thought that was one of the deaths that did a great job of making this world feel hostile and terrifying, and show the threat that they're up against.
Yeah,
they're gonna have.
But I would say I don't think the world should be horrifying and scary. Like it's gonna turn into more so in a couple seconds.
Was T.I.'s death? Yes, but I think again for these characters, so far that we had 2 deaths at this point, right?
We've had 5 deaths practically.
No.
We've had the 2 guys who were in the Jeep that was flipped. One person who was stabbed.
Okay, that's right.
Marshall who was eaten by another.
That's right. One dude gets.
I mean, come on, we can't get stuck in this minutia of these characters who all, at this point, do not matter.
Now I remember, because I remember forgetting about it. The one dude gets killed. He was stuck in the Jeep. I thought he got out.
There were 2 people in the Jeep when he got flipped over by the Diablos.
But one of them got away because he was free.
Yeah,
the other dude was trapped.
Yeah,
I
think there were 3 people total. 2 were in the Jeep that got destroyed. You couldn't tell which 2 it was because the movie's bad.
But I thought there was only the one.
No,
the one dude got impaled.
Yeah.
The one dude gets chomped in half. Mm-hmm. There's the missed death, and then there's Dash's death, and then there's Mila, and that was everyone. There was 6. 2 and 4.
I mean, we could find out, but I really, like I said, these characters
do
not matter in the next 10 seconds.
But like I said, the guy getting chopped in half was a way. Again, I think if you're gonna have these characters, we all know they're designed to die. His death at least served that purpose of making these monsters threatening, life threat, and deadly. They were deadly. That was a deadly kill. That was a gruesome kill.
Yeah.
That didn't have to even be lingered upon.
Conservationism. These monsters are horrible creatures. Just like my main. Well, hey, my main little sticking point with the series that I've always loved since childhood, but I think is a really bad message now that I'm a fucking, even more so of a fucking tender heart for animals. Jurassic Park, where they make all these literally just large animals. They're just a big lion or a big cat. There are big cat. The herbivores are just extremely large cows. The theropods like T-Rex and the Spinosaurus are just a fucking big lion or a big tiger. They're not malicious monsters, for lack of a better term, that are out to specifically eat and harm and terrify humans. These fucking monsters in Monster Hunter are animals. The plot of these games is mostly about conservation, but this movie does pitch and frame them as like demonic, evil, human destroying and eating creatures that like most of the ones that we see aren't. Like fucking Diablos is a goddamn herbivore. Nursilla is most of the time a lone hunter, hunting other monsters. But we'll get that's more of a tangent for later.
I will give you this though.
That's more of a tangent for
that
later.
Is true. And again, I think that stems from a poor premise. I think if we're going to take this film...
I knew you were about to say it. I knew we just connected mentally right there. I know what he's about to say. I know exactly what he's about to say.
If we take parts of this film...
say it. Go ahead.
Fuck you, Chris. On its own.
Yeah, come on. You can almost get it out.
Merit.
Yes.
You take it away from the much better and should have been the premise that it should have been, and you disassociate it from that. The monsters that we see are terrifying and look good, and they do a good job of quickly setting themselves up to be obstacles that require something that the main character does not have. I feel dirty having said that. I feel gross having said such a line.
Despicable line.
Despicable line. But I think that, unfortunately, there has to be something in this film. Again, I don't think this film is bad, though, because it's a bad... I don't think it's a poorly created film. I think that this is a film where a single voice or single voices overwrote really good work and really impressive things. And honestly, if this wasn't a Monster Hunter film and they did something enough to change it so they were legally distinct, I think it'd honestly be a much better thing until the ending. I'll get to the ending.
I would say, like, as much as I'm shitting on monster behavior and like how they're depicted, you're going to hear later on when you hear Ben's reply to the questions I asked that he does actually mention and bring up a point that I didn't even know about. The director of Monster Hunter, I think it might have been Monster Hunter World or maybe just the head of the franchise, did speak with Paul W. Anderson about the monster designs and which ones they picked and like how they behave and stuff like that. So they did have an actual consultation with one of the main Monster Hunter devs and like working people. So despite how they're depicted, which I think is atrocious, I think they look beautiful. I think they are scary. But like
yes,
I think that but we're not 10 seconds into this fucking movie and we've got to get moving because we have to finish this goddamn Nursilla scene. Okay, so refreshed again. Another little break. Okay, so Marshall died, Mila captured. Okay, yeah, Mila wakes up in the Nursilla nest. We have a bunch of black goo. Like it's a fucking Rompopolo or fucking Gogmazios dead.
Or she's like Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah, Bilbo Baggins and the spiders. Or fucking, what's his
Spiders.
name? Spiders! Did they have the song in the extended version? Oh god, we're distracted again. No, fucking... Okay, so yeah, she wakes up and she immediately sees Dash, Megan Good dead off screen, all pale and dead in the cocoons. For some reason, Mila's stupid ass isn't dead.
That pissed me off because, like I said,
she has protag plot armor.
These characters were designed to be killed, and I get that. I get that they were all designed to be killed, but they should have served purpose towards the plot and or the growth of the main character. Like, and this is one of the deaths that did not do that. Because it made no sense why. Even the T.I.'s death made sense because you can argue like, oh hey, that happened.
No, it actually doesn't make sense because we're gonna...
one of them was struggling.
No, she's dead already in a cocoon. Mila's in a cocoon, not infested with spiders. T.I.'s wandering around, fully clothed, not webbed, with spiders, which you see in the scene. It doesn't make any sense.
It still makes better sense, but then him being wandering around means he woke up earlier because they injected him immediately and they had already dragged her away. They knew she's still out, so they dealt with him first and we're gonna get to her beforehand.
I fucking guess. But yeah, T.I. Dash dead. T.I. alive, and then T.I. infested with spiders. He pulls up his shirt.
Okay, this scene
and a bunch of tiny, like that's not what Ursula does, but okay.
I'm okay with this though.
This
was a fucking mist level death scene. He lifts he said his chest hurts, lifts his shirt up, and you see fucking spider eggs injected into his skin.
Yeah.
Burst open with tiny little Nursellas popping out of him. That's terrifying.
It's disgusting and crazy.
Okay, there's a lot of issues that I do have with the Nursellas at times, but the Nursella's nest, it was way too big, but it was a terrifying setting. That the biggest flaw I have is the lack of color on it and them.
Yeah, the Nursilla is just a fucking big black spider with the evil Shelob or Ungoliant from fucking Lord of the Rings. Like evil eyes and like no color. It's just like the weirdly colored Diablos. It's just a big black spider. Not even I think one shot later on you can kind of make out the crystally structure, but it's also just fucking black gray.
And see, this is actually where I will say that they could have done, because honestly, for those who played the game know, when you beat down and crack all of its like coatings, it's very pale.
Yeah,
it's a very pale underneath. So that, and also too, I mean, how often do you see underground creatures are pale? So how striking would it have been to be this dark, gloomy setting, and you see these pale spiders, and even too, if this is a nest with multiple sizes, which I'm fine with. We see them hatching out of host bodies. I
guess
everything. Why don't we see like an apex or like the queen, level,
shrouded
like,
or something, yeah.
Not even a shrouded, just like maybe like
a real full size Drusilla. Because like I said, I wrote these off when they first came on screen. I wrote them off as Spawn or like like babies, newborns, fucking of these things. Because like they're so small, I was like, okay, well we're gonna see a big one eventually. And then the T.I. spider scene, I'm like, oh, these are supposed to be like fully grown Nursillas, and there's hundreds of them in a colony. Okay, but
I think that there was
they're supposed to be full size. I'm like, really? They could have just made them fucking. They could have whatever. They could have had them normal
But I
size.
think that they did a good job of making them terrifying.
They were very scary.
The setting. I liked, again, and also there's a thing that they add in the movie that I think is actually, again, in the setting of the film is brilliant. The fact that they can't go into sunlight.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice.
I like that because it makes nightfall terrifying while giving you a sense of relief, because I think so. Like the thing about that song earlier, I know I'm going back to that. A scene like that could have been a tonal shift to help control, because like a good horror film is not pure horror for 130 minutes. A good horror film mixes in humor, mixes in lighthearted moments, mixes in even sad moments with the terrifying, because it makes you numb. And I think that song could have been a tonal shift in the right setting and the right time.
In a better movie.
In a better movie.
Yeah.
I think that this scene and their change to being afraid of the night or the day is a good shift that allows for that break in the terrifying, because they are, for the design flaws in them, terrifying throughout.
Yeah.
They are terrifying, and the fact that there's so many, again, and I think that that's where, if they had made it a massive apex one, that would have upped the threat level, but also showed the terrifying level of this monster. And they could have. And now I'm speculating into how to make a good movie.
I was saying one of the
things taking over this island would have been an interesting plot point that would have explained better if that had been explained.
Wait, one of the questions I have for
3 minutes could have been spent on that,
hey,
and the song taken out.
This movie's gonna continue to fucking waste time. One of the things I pitched to them is, how would you pitch a better movie? We'll get to that at the end, because I also have my own ideas of what a better fucking idea for shit would be. But she escapes last second. The Nursillas almost get her leg. She gets scratched up a little bit.
She needs to get scratched up.
She gets her
leg like torn into.
Yeah. She eventually escapes. She realizes that they can't go into the sun. She shuffles and grabs her stupid ring thing from earlier, because it would never be.
Did it fall out of her pocket, or happened to be there?
I think it just happened to be on the ground.
That's even stupider.
I think when she crawled out, she was just checking her stuff off and maybe it would just fall on the ground right next to her. Which
that would make better sense. That pissed me off a bit because it never shows back up again.
It's never explained or addressed at even. She cauterizes her wound with a broken open bullet shell, which I'm like, how does she have a bullet shell when she had like no equipment or anything?
She mentioned they had a mag left at one point. So honestly,
but also that was like a tank round she fucking used, not a fucking rifle.
It was a big ass round. I agree. But here's what pissed me off about this scene is that it doesn't. The same thing with the ring. It does not go anywhere. That was a resourceful move for her to cauterize her own wound with it. That's not a bad thing, and I think that it could have been built upon better because resourcefulness, resources, in a game about gathering resources.
No.
In a
nope. We have to keep this movie shitty. So yeah,
like
she picks up two random rocks that are fortunately flint apparently, and they
she's
fucking
resourceful.
spark.
Can't wait to totally see that payoff and sarcasm. And I wrote /sarcasm. Other bracket, close bracket. I fucking wrote the goddamn that.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah, that's what this fucking movie's done to me.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Paul Anderson. And you specifically.
Yeah, fuck you.
And hey, if you want to come on the podcast and explain yourself.
No, you're not welcome.
No, you shut up, Matt.
I don't want his ass
I'm the host of this. He's welcome to explain himself.
Yeah, I'll one of them first. Okay,
as long as he.
Paul W. Anderson. So first question, what's wrong with you?
No, he needs to bring us alcohol and the good shit.
Yeah.
Or send us some, because I'm assuming he's not going to come out to Cleveland.
Of course.
But if he does and he wants to be on the podcast, I will not say no.
Sure,
and you will not say no. And I'm the host, so you can't say no.
Diablos is still floating around in the sand. She can't escape off of this crazy island with all these giant spidoids. She goes back onto the land, and she eventually, after a little montage of wandering around the island,
pissed me off because she walks through the canyons that they were attacked in earlier and does not get attacked.
She has a big old field of ships.
Now there's my inconsistency of the movie.
No, she finds a big giant ship graveyard, which is inexplicable.
It made it okay. Yes, I agree. But also,
oh my god, how many can you agree and still another?
This is what pisses me off. It was wasted. I want to know about this graveyard.
Yeah, why is there a ship graveyard? Why is there a giant nest of Nursilla? What the fuck are those Nursilla even eating?
How interesting would that have been of a film if they explained it?
No, I guess we're supposed to assume that it's Diablo's just crashing every ship that comes through this fucking desert, but that doesn't make any sense.
I agree, that makes zero sense. This film, again, this is where somebody said we need to put more ships in because it's interesting. They liked the setting.
Yeah, they wanted a cool visual for their inexplicably poorly written movie.
Because to me, it creates an interesting mystery. Like, honestly, fuck it. Give me a movie about those ships. Where did they come from? What happens if they weren't all taken out by Diablos? What if the Nursellas overtook that island and there used to be humans living there?
No.
That's interesting.
Probably Anderson's answer is those ships aren't my wife, so all we're seeing is my wife. She's the main parent. She's the main person. In case you forgot, back in Resident Evil 2 Apocalypse, based on Resident Evil 3, the real protag of the movie, Jill Valentine, goes up to her and saying, "Damn, you're so much cooler than me. You're more attractive. I suck, and you're the coolest person ever, Paul W. Sanderson's wife. I'm the main character of the game, but you're a better person. Now I'm going to step into the background and disappear." And then Mila Jovovich just unemotingly just turned away from her and continued to be a cool badass in the movie, just like in every movie she's in. But of course, every scene after she finds that ship graveyard and inexplicably starts looking around for shit, she is jumped by Tony Jaa, finally back in the movie, where, oh boy, Tony Jaa's here. So, I mean, this is a Monster Hunter movie. We just got out of a horror scene. Let's have a fucking kung fu fight for no reason.
Okay.
Was the kung fu fight cool? Guess what? Tony Jaa made his whole career on cool kung fu fights and actual good kung fu movies. What the fuck is this have to do in goddamn Monster Hunter, and why are they kung fu fighting each other?
Okay, first off, quick, before
do you agree with me, butt?
Hold on, no. Before the fight scene even happens, when he speaks, the subtitles said
alien
language.
I have that in my thing too.
Alien language.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Exactly. Yes, that makes zero sense. Come on. We all know he's not speaking English, but you didn't have to fucking say that.
That'd be a weird racist thing. Yeah, that's what
that is like. Honestly, that would be like if we were watching Squid Game and the VIPs and it said speaks alien language in the subtitles.
Yeah, they speak English.
Well, they speak English.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
That would be okay. Pitch now to Netflix.
Yeah,
do it.
Yeah, whenever someone speaks English
you
in
cowards.
a movie, have them fucking doing that shit. What a goofy ass piece of shit. But yeah, they have a kung fu fight. She gets the upper hand on him for a bit, stabs him with his knife, but then he eventually defeats her and kidnaps her again.
I'm gonna argue with this scene.
Yeah. Argue what? That it's bad and dumb?
Honestly, no. I'm just assuming to argue that
they
it's
really could have just
good.
worked together and not had this dumb thing happen.
I agree. I agree that premise-wise, that sense-wise, that is terrible. But I'm gonna go into the mind space of
a dumb asshole like Paul W. Anderson.
Don't say that.
Fuck him.
That was mean and uncalled for.
No, fuck him.
So here's what I'm gonna say about this scene. First off, the choreography was incredible.
Yeah, Tony Jaa's a professional.
It was incredible.
He's been doing it for like 40 years.
Incredible choreography. So straight off the bat, there's that. Mm-hmm. But then also too, I think with this, that if you take, God damn it, fuck you, God damn it. You take the movie on its own merit.
Do you see what this movie's done to you, Ed? It's reduced you to terrible quotes from our best friend of the podcast, Chris.
I'm actually gonna.
The thing that you made cursed our entire friend group to watch The Last Airbender. You've said twice now in defense of this fucking shitty movie. I hope you know how wrong you are.
All right.
I know in your heart of hearts you know you're wrong.
So, the fight scene, here's what I got from what it established. One, Mila Jovovich's character is talented.
Ooh, wow, what a crazy... Can you believe it?
But she's not...
She's not the best?
She's not the best. And also, too, it showed how outclassed her talent is. She's talented, gets an upper hand, but that upper hand doesn't mean anything because they're out of her league. The hunter gets stabbed with his own knife, which is a big-ass knife.
Yeah, a big-ass bone knife from the monster.
Despite that, with the knife, I think if it's still in him, he knocks her out.
Yeah.
It could, at the same time of showing how strong of a character she is, conversely shows how she's still not in a power position.
Yeah, not the full Mary Sue.
Yeah, she's powerful, but not in a power position in the world and situation. And that is why I will give credit and defend this fight scene. Because I felt like it did that job. Again, you can argue that whether that's the right or wrong way they should have gone with it, and I agree, it is the wrong way. But if we're gonna take the film at what it's trying to show, it did its job in showing that thing. It made her a powerful character with flaws.
Yeah, the hunter is a better fighter than her, which is great.
Yes. That is what
Yes, he didn't have his wife beat one of the most famous martial artists in the entire planet. She just held her own for the most part.
but she even,
what? Yeah, okay, whatever.
But again, and it shows her character's flaws. Her character's flaw is that she is not on the same level as hunters.
As a professional in this world, yeah.
Exactly. And that is something.
Why is she in this world? I
agree. But we have to take the film into its line of thinking. Fuck you. Damn you, Chris. You owe me a very stiff drink.
Oh. Yeah.
Keep it going while I'm
chugging. All right, so she's kidnapped again. This won't be the last time. She wakes up. She sees him doing some kind of weird prayer over two little figurines, which are very cool detailed. Some kind of weird religious structure, she assumes, I'm guessing. He's drinking water, not offering her any because we saw earlier she was very chapped and thirsty and she couldn't find any water because all the barrels on the ships were full of sand for some fucking dumb reason.
Because they were old and
yeah, because that's what happens in ships that aren't filled with sand is that closed barrels gets filled with sand. Whatever. The movie's dumb. Anyway,
well, how was they going to explain that she was thirsty?
More alien language. The fucking next day, Tony Jaa wakes up and at one point she like grabbed a tooth or something like that from the around and she like was cutting her ropes open, so she escapes. The next morning she knocks him out with I think a big club or something stupid, like a big piece of wood, and then ties him up somehow and is drinking water. He kicks the water over in a hilarious way.
She didn't even I don't think she gets to drink.
No, she has a spoon like full of something.
It's like a tiny. It's like that spoon we all have. That's like instead of it being flat, it's like
barely curved. Yeah,
right. Like
they have another
concave enough that you could hold like 3 drops in it.
Another kung fu fight. Oh boy, what a fun monster!
Not even really much. Though again, I'll give
Great.
That's
That's what I wanted my monster. Yeah, you're right, Ed. On its own merits, I'm glad this Monster Hunter movie has not had any monsters being hunted and has had two lengthy kung fu fights between the director's wife and the best martial artist on the planet.
I don't agree with all of that, but I'm trying to find some joy in this because I'm very angry, and I can see where there were concepts.
This truly is Ed's Justice League.
Okay, fuck you. That was mean and uncalled for, and I'm done. But no, the scene's fine. But think about this. This is so much of this should have been cut out. Mm-hmm. I agree.
Like everything with Mila in the military should have been cut out.
They could have cut her first fight with him and all of the stuff in that shelter all the way down to he's fallen down into towards where the Narcella can get him. They could have cut all of that out. They should have cut all of that out.
Yeah.
But you can see the threads. The threads.
Do we ever see them shoot webs?
Nope.
Great. What a great movie.
You can see the threads of an idea of she has to spend all night sawing at the ropes to get free, to get the upper hand. Mm-hmm. He's literally able to go whoop and jump over his own hands to free himself.
Yeah.
And once again,
yeah, he's perfectly fine. Ready to go.
Get back to equal to her base level.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're going to take things as they're shown to us, that at the very least you can see the thread of a concept where somebody who wrote that scene was competent. The problem is that they had to write that scene instead of writing a different scene that would have overall created a better movie.
Yeah, the person
and that
did
is
a shitty
why
job, made a shitty scene.
I blame the person who told them to write that scene competently instead of writing the scene that letting them decide what scene should have been written.
What?
Why does God fucking damn it, this is about to piss me off now.
Alright, well, no, we gotta get to the next scene.
They get to a fight, she falls through a pit, she
saves him from the Narcillus. Now they're best friends.
But
now,
they're not best friends.
Not
they're
yet.
still arguing
until
she gives him chocolate.
Yep, a big
Fuck you!
Turn to camera. Hershey's, it's the best. This is product placement. They paid for this movie.
Honestly,
some of the most vile, shittily made, cheap chocolate, a fucking plain Hershey's bar. I'd rather eat vomit.
I'll tell you what.
Give me a nice Ghirardelli or O'Malley's,
I'll tell you
please.
what, by the way.
Don't give me a fucking square piece of shit.
I'll tell you what. This is how you can tell the movie was made in 2020. Because if that movie came out today, I guarantee you 100% that the fucking Feastables.
What the fuck are Feastables?
Mr. Beast.
Oh, yeah.
That was a Feastable.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was a fucking...
a nice mildew-covered Feastable.
That was a product placement.
Yeah, a nice
1,000%, and it was so fucking...
It was a painfully stupid.
Why?
Chocolate? It's chocolate. Chocolate.
Right. That pissed me off. No, I don't give a shit how... listen, I guarantee you, if I was in a happier mood, I could tell you why there's a potential of that was being somewhat okay. But no, fuck that. Fuck that version of me. Fuck this scene. And fuck that trope. Why does it take chocolate to get somebody on your side? She saved his life from having spider eggs injected into him and him die a gruesome, horrifying death. Mm-hmm. She fucking saved him from that. They should be best friends. And that, again, I think that it was well written. I think the choreography and the attempt of a purpose was well done, but it was pointless. And they should have, honestly, if you're going to have that scene, have that initial fight scene lead into him falling down the pit, her saving him, both showing her strength, her flaws, and how she's outmatched. Yeah. And also how she's a good person since she's our fucking main character, apparently.
Yeah,
while also giving him the badass moment that he needs of being stabbed and just fucking kicking ass still regardless. Uh-huh. And even too, you could even have him kill something and then there was two of them.
No.
There's a better way to not wasting our time. Yeah. And there's a lot more great things that could have been seen if we didn't have to waste this huge block of time to show what could have been done in that amount.
Oh,
honestly,
waste a huge bunch of time. That's a very, very funny wording, Ed.
That first fight scene did enough to set the two characters apart that they didn't even need the rest of this.
They finally are best friends now because of chocolate. And now he comes up with a plan to tranquilize the Diablos. And now they start working on doing that. And this is when I pressed the pause button on the movie. I looked at the time, saw we were at 50 minutes in. 50 minutes into the Monster Hunter movie, and we were about to hunt our first monster. And then I turned
to be fair,
and then I looked up at the sky that I knew Ed was looking up at the same time, and I said, "What the fuck are you talking about, Ed? This is one of the worst fucking movies we've ever watched. This is 50 minutes into this piece of fucking shit. This fucking dumb asshole has been running around the fucking forest for the past running around the goddamn desert for the past 50 fucking minutes, having hand-to-hand kung fu fights with another human, having our whole stupid shithead team fucking killed, who all didn't matter. She sucks. Fuck Paul W. Sanderson. Tony Jaa, I can't believe you agreed to do this piece of shit. Ron Perlman, I'm sure you're literally like just fucking showing up for the paycheck. 50 fucking minutes, Ed. What the fuck is this fucking thing? This fucking sucks shit. You don't like X-Men Apocalypse.
Hold on.
You don't like fucking Justice League, fucking Unchained or whatever the fuck it was called. You didn't like fucking Resident Evil Apocalypse, but this horse shit, I've sat here for the past 3 hours and hear you fucking defend this goddamn piece of shit, Ed.
Okay.
Every single one of those movies are fucking streets ahead of this ass. This is the most upset I've ever been on the podcast, Ed. And I had to sit through Bad Taste. Fuck this movie.
Hold up, though. You just
fuck this movie.
I get it. I think here is ironically, and you're gonna hate me for the whole. You're gonna hate me for saying this.
Yeah.
50 minutes of preparation and running around
before
you first.
No, Ed. Because the next scene is him jumping off of a cliff and killing Undercella in one hit, cutting its stinger off, and now they have a poison arrow. That's the prep they do.
No. I'm talking. Wait.
That was 15 minutes of nothing.
No.
That was 15 minutes of a cutscene.
Stop. Cut. The first 50 minutes of
that was booty. That was
talking
poop from a butt.
Talking to people, set up.
Yeah.
Running around the desert, all to find and hunt your very first monster, which is done like that. That's called the start of a Monster Hunter game, Matt.
Guess what? Monster Hunter World, from fucking pressing X to fucking making your character, is about fucking 15 minutes, not even, about 10 minutes before you're fucking running around the forest with the hunter fucking fighting monsters.
Hold up.
15.
The opening of a Monster Hunter game is 15 minutes.
I know, that's a little much, isn't it? You make your character and then you say, let's get the hunting.
That's a joke. No, have you played for you the tutorials on shit?
Tutorials? Guess what you're doing in those tutorials? You're fighting fucking monsters. They throw you in an arena, and they give you a play weapon, and then you fucking fight a tranquilized fucking bear.
You are misremembering. Also, how much time have you spent hunting monsters versus running around the map trying to find which zone the monster is at?
That's the funnest part of the fucking game.
You're wrong on that one.
That fucking rules.
Fuck that.
This is booty from this is shit from a butt. This movie is shit from a butt, Ed.
Anybody in Monster Hunter who wants us to go back to paintballs is wrong.
Paintballs, whatever. Yeah, that sucks.
Paintballs is terrible.
I love that they're always on the map. Guess what? This movie is all fucking. I wish they fucking paintball the goddamn monster. This movie is terrible.
I agree with you on that.
It's the worst thing we've ever watched.
I was making the joke.
It's low on the list
of long prep for a short hunt. All this prep time, tiny hunt time.
Great. That's what a fun thing.
There's a 3 Ultimate. Anyone who's played 3 Ultimate knows. You spend more time in the fucking farm and doing all the preparation work than you do the actual hunting.
But she wasn't even doing that. She was just fleeing for her life in a shitty, ugly, blank, boring shithead desert. And then fist fighting Tony Jaa twice before they hunted a monster. I was so pissed. That sucked so fucking bad. Anyway, a cool, great sword kill. Oh, his great sword's fucking tiny. FYI, I forgot to mention that. That also fucking sucks. They needed it to be realistic. If it was literally twice his body size, how could he actually wield it? Guess what? It's a fucking movie. Figure it out. CGI the fucking blade. It's a goddamn swinging sword. It won't look bad.
See, this is where my
his body length.
My depth perception did not tell me that because it didn't look that small.
That fucking thing was like fucking like less than an arm's like less than half of his body. That fucking sword was.
I think we're misremembering.
That was like a regular fat sword.
I swear to God, it looked best.
It was not big, dude. It was tiny.
It looked pretty big to me.
It was tiny. I was like, is that supposed to be a fucking sword and shield sword?
I think we're both telling on ourselves as well.
What?
I'm telling you myself. I think it looked pretty
I
big.
think it was minuscule. What are you talking about? I can see with a magnifying glass. No. Fuck this. That
Well,
fucking
I
was
just
bullshit.
called myself out.
Anyway, they fucking kill Nursilla in 10 seconds.
See, this is again where.
And then they fucking have a dumb chat about rangers. She's a ranger.
Film,
he's a hunter.
Competent film in this could have made that
in another universe.
In another universe,
yeah,
them
this movie was good.
like not like the massive apex or even a full-grown Nursilla.
Yeah, if it was maybe like I assumed it was, but it wasn't. It was
right.
full-grown.
Listen, it was, and we're just gonna call it that because we need some joy in our lives.
Yeah. I like to make things up too, Ed.
So,
Mila Jovovich and the army team didn't exist, and it wasn't an isekai movie.
So, I tell you what, too, pissed me about the Nursilla here is that we didn't get to see them interact. Hold on.
Nice.
We did not get to see them interact with other monsters,
Nope.
and that was, I think, the not the biggest misstep.
I would say you better not, Ed. This isn't even the 20th worst misstep.
Massive misstep. There was a massive misstep because for those of us who know what, like, when you say the word Nursilla, that is not a term that people who have not played the games with they're in
doesn't sound
would recognize.
Yeah.
Like Diablos is in like I think almost every.
It looks
game.
like a demon, so yeah,
right.
That makes sense.
Like that's like if you see the Monobolos, skull on the Hermitar,
Yeah.
you recognize that because he's only in like 1 or 2 games, or whatnot. Like. So Nursilla is kind of like that almost, a little less obscure, but it's still more obscure. So for us who know Nursilla, we know the lore. We know it wears a fucking Gypsyros as its skin. So again, that's where there being no other monsters anywhere, even signs of other monsters, is I think a huge misstep of this movie. Because
I was so hyped when they
how
said,
cool would
we'll
this...
use, the Nursilla, Diablos. I was like, oh shit, they're gonna have the 2 monsters fight a turf war. That's gonna be fucking awesome. No. Fuck me, I guess. That would have been better.
See, them hunting Nursilla to be able to hunt Diablos.
It's authentic, but
I like that part.
You like that fart because it was a fart. A fart from a butt, like
but
this whole movie.
Tell me this. Tell me how cool this would have been. And then this is when, listen, that all that filler that was
she also said you need a monster to kill a monster or whatever.
The filler used to make them best friends that could have been used, that should have been used for him to maybe, instead of wasting all that time, they become friends and he's able to explain. And honestly, one thing he did great was, despite him not speaking English, he did a great job of getting and communicating, and I thought the communication between Mila Jovovich and Tony Jaa's character was awesome, and I liked the fact that they never truly understood each other while also understanding each other. He could have explained, or something at some point could have explained, how that island was taken over by Nursilla, and we'd see the results of that, and also, too, that could have been used to explain why the Diablos was hovering around the island. What happens if, that Diablos is trying to, take back its home from the Nursilla? And, ironically, how interesting would it have been if that came back to bite them in the ass, where a Nursilla shows up at some point. Because there's a bunch of time that just gets skipped over. I will give this movie credit at times where I think it moves quickly and efficiently.
It moves too quickly, I think, sometimes. I was going to say, Chris is going to disagree with you on the communication. That was one of his sticking points of things that he hated about it.
Well, you're wrong, Chris. He also made me say, I also recorded him, so... But I think, there's a scene later on where they basically jump cut from this to that. And that is a movie, the time in between there, I think I wanted to see. And I didn't get to see that. And this is what pisses me off about this movie.
Yeah, everything
this is what pisses me off about this movie. Is there are things I think that are genuinely good and competently put together. The problem is that it's the wrong focus. It was from it's a rotten core being built around. It's a shiny apple with a rotten core. And the problem is that rotten core could have been fucking ignored, but because that rotten core was the only thing that mattered.
I think it's poisonous fruit from a poisonous tree. Personally,
I think it's a poisonous fruit from a good. Is the poisonous? It's a poisonous tree with a lot of good fruit on it. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore.
Our metaphors are mixed. We got to get to this fucking hunting scene. They put a bunch of shit together. They talk about Ranger and Hunter chat. We find out the figurines are from his family, which is a very cool little reveal. What an interesting character. I wish he was the protag, but nope.
Yes, he should have been.
Yeah, they were killed by a Rathalos. She's like, what's a Rathalos? They craft some poison arrows. Yeah, or not poison, I guess sleep arrows.
Sleep arrows, yeah.
Yeah, Nursilla. Mila's dumbass gets a wrist launcher, which, where the fuck that even come from, who cares? And this is when we get to see where she finally gets her dual blades. They were just hanging out in that ship, I guess, and I guess they're very good ones.
Yeah.
Barrel traps. I was like, oh, barrels, they're going to have some explosives. No, they're just fucking empty.
I will say, too, that did tick me off a little bit. Because, again, so, like, there's a little training montage, which at least is, again...
She's doing some training with the weapons.
The film is quick. The
when it wants to be. When it's not taking...
Be.
When it's montage of her wandering around the fucking desert.
Even then, at the same...
Or introducing 6 fucking military idiots to all get killed in one scene.
I agree with that. Actually, you know what? Fuck. You're wrong.
Fuck past Ed. Yeah. Fuck past Ed.
Parts of me.
An hour ago.
I don't disagree with past Ed that their deaths did serve the plot.
Of course, but why were they there? And what? They could have had half of them serve the plot. They could have had 1 or 2 of them serve the fucking plot.
Honestly,
they could have been about... If the movie was about this army group...
3 of them served the plot.
Yeah, if
they
you kept...
impaled on the Diablos, the eaten in half by the Nursella, and the nightmare-fueled spiders in my body gets. Those 3 are all I needed.
If Steeler and Dash stuck around with her and they all hunted together, maybe that... But well, I guess we'll get to the actual pitch of
honestly, that would have been smart.
Because I don't want to spoil my pitch for a better movie.
Their deaths would have fueled...
if half... Yeah.
How interesting that would have been?
There's a billion other options. But come on, we got to hunt the Diablos now. What the fuck? Where are we at?
The film does move quick in the right... Even the slow movies move quickly. For the record, I will say that.
We're about to get to an interesting scene where they fight the Diablos. Tony Jaa baits it.
This is ironic. Okay, I wrote this. Movie both wastes time, yet inexplicably moves like the light filler moves quickly.
The hell does that mean?
The movie both wastes time yet inexplicably moves. Like the light filler moves quickly. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. Basically, we get filler, but it's quick filler.
Yeah, so much of it.
So much, I don't agree with that, but there's too much. And this movie is short enough, and that's the problem. Especially the way it fucking ends.
It's about what it needs to be.
It's not a complete movie.
Narrative-wise, it's not.
You know what it is?
Lengthwise.
This movie is not a complete movie, and that's the problem.
No.
That is the core concept.
There's a gag to be made about the fucking, and more than one joke to be made about what the fuck that was. But we'll get there in a second, because we have to, he baits, because earlier with the Nursella, she was bait. She sung that stupid army song again, and the Nursella came out of the hole to kill her. And Tony Jaa killed it in one hit. We gloss over that.
I did enjoy that.
Yeah, whatever. I was screaming about how 50 minutes in this fucking movie.
Because he was funny in it. I liked that. Again, if they'd made it better, it's explained. Okay, that makes sense. Also too, we got a gruesome kill without gore. Again, that's something I'll give. Again, I will give the movie credit. I hear it. I know you're. Listen, this movie is able to put some gruesome things without resorting to gore, and it deserves credit for that. Yeah. There are things in this movie that make you go, ooh, without showing blood and gore.
Yeah, true.
Like that. I mean, we're getting to Alex Jones' heads get popped off without any of the gore, and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Or
hilarious.
Guy gets folded in half. Listen, we don't need to see the blood in that to know that it's fun, and it's a great kill.
But I wish this movie was fucking more fun, which it isn't.
The one fucking
Diablos fight scene, Tony Jaa makes himself bait. His tiny little great sword fucking hits it in the head but doesn't do enough damage. Mila Jovovich eventually gets the LAW that they refer to as an RPG and fires it at the Diablos, which does barely anything and merely slows it down.
I don't think it even does that.
Yeah, not even. Walked right through the dust. It was very cool. The sleep arrow in the eye was very interesting. It was fun showing how it actually hit it in the eye. It barely affected it, but still it
affected it enough.
Yeah, eventually, but still it was rowdy and doing something. And then eventually fucking fell asleep.
And also too, for again those of us who know the games, you see it take a minute to take effect, and you see it shift, and then all of a sudden you see it enraged. And we all know, anyone who's played Monster Hunter knows, enraged monsters can't really be statused the same way or to the same effect.
Yeah.
And
there's couples of milliseconds of good stuff.
This is, what pisses me off. I think that this is a good fight scene. The arrow in the eye, gruesome. It shows also how tough the monster is. Yeah. The fact that it affects it, but then you see the enraged moment. And like, oh, hey, I get that. I recognize that. Yeah.
Tony Jaa's knocked out in the fight, though, of course, because we need to have his wife save the day, of course. So he's knocked out, unconscious.
That was a little unfortunate.
She grabs his fucking greatsword and finishes the fucking...
Wait, so he stabbed it in its head.
Great, I'm glad he went for the head with the greatsword.
And, well, listen, I liked that, and I liked... And again, I'll admit, I don't even hate the way it all went down, because, like, if we're gonna make her the fucking badass... She finished the job.
Yeah, I guess.
So, you know what? And also, too, like, it took her realizing that what she could do, firing the earth weapons, did fuck all.
Yeah.
Like, literally fuck all to the Diablos. Yeah. It took her meeting the world on its level with the greatsword and pushing it and slamming it through. And also, I thought that was a cool kill. And I also think... I liked, because you think about Monster Hunter, it's fucking superhuman level things. We're literally taking, like, death beams to the face and surviving.
Giant fire blast, which is going to get knocked over using a potion.
And I think that this fight scene does the Rathalos scene does not. The Diablos fight scene, especially here, shows a mixture of realism, of a brutal hit can swing the fight, but also, too, it shows the superhuman level. I'm stabbing something through its thick skull, but I'm literally, despite being swung at G-forces, surviving things. Despite being thrown into a rocket, probably breakneck speeds. I could have landed into a pillow at that speed, and I fucking shattered all my bones.
Yeah,
he survives. Like, it mixes realism and superhuman levels in a satisfying way. I think too, again, it is a brutal, impactful kill on a monster that was shown to be threatening.
Yeah.
And it did not, and also it didn't take one person. She got the kill. He did the legwork.
Yeah.
He's the one who fired the arrow. He's the one who jumped on its head without the fucking grappling hook. And he's also the one who, despite it knowing he's on its head, was able to stab it in enough to where even the thrashing could not make that greatsword come out. It was a joint team kill on a big, terrifying monster. And I think, again, this film is not poorly made. It was poorly conceived. This fight scene is not bad. I like this fight scene. I think it looked great. I liked it. And I hate that it's in this movie, because this is about the point when I'm at here. Like, and again, maybe I was in a good mood because I was watching it. My wife was sitting on the couch next to me, so I was in a good mood for that. I was at a point in this film for a massive chunk where I was like remembering things, and I'm like, this is a film that I don't despise at the moment. Like, why do I remember disliking it so? I remember disliking this movie. I remembered that, and I said to myself at certain points, like, I don't remember this being as bad as I'm thinking. Man, this is really going to be high up in my rankings. I'm not kidding you. And
Crazy person.
And honestly, I think that there are a few steps in this film that we got that, had they been replaced with the correct sequences and shots and script, this would have been a fantastic film. If nothing more, it would have been a film that would have not been this aggressively terrible.
9 minutes is the totality of the Diablos fight. Great. Great fight. Great moment. I'm glad there was 9 minutes of joy I got out of this movie for this fucking fight scene.
Listen,
she carves up the Diablos.
We need to have our joy. Listen, tell me this.
And we're almost at fucking 3. We're at 3.5 hours. When we're going to be at 4.
In the Terror of Tiny Town.
We're at 50 minutes in.
At the Terror of Tiny Town. How many of those scenes did you enjoy? How
many
minutes?
Duck scene with the chef.
So that was what, 3 minutes?
Yeah, not even.
So
Probably.
already this movie is giving you more
3 times,
enjoyment than The Terror of Tiny Town.
Honestly, I don't even know which one I'd rather
You're
watch
welcome.
First. She carves a big sled out of this. Obviously, now you can tell it's a big black Diablos because she cuts a big giant black flank off of it. Makes a little sled somehow. And then they go back through the desert. And I was like, what the fuck? Did they go backwards? Why are they back in front of the Jeep? And I was like, oh, that was Bravo Team's thing. I thought they went backwards for some reason.
Oh, God.
She's dragging him through the stupid desert. They eventually find an oasis with some Apsaros drinking. He wakes up.
The whole desert scene is... This is where you and I are on the same... Her taking the scale off the Diablos... I liked that in terms of, hey, she's carving the dead monster.
And she makes a stupid sled.
The whole fucking desert scene was a waste of goddamn time.
Well, yeah, the whole movie's a waste of time. But yes, it's more of a waste. That's such shit.
Why do we get a later scene of we walk off this thing and then skip over, jump cut into this?
Yeah,
we don't do that here in the fucking desert.
Yeah, it's very stupid. It's a piece of shit. This movie's a piece of shit. It loves to waste everyone's time. Apsaros drinking. He says, oh, those are Apsaros. Some fucking weird giant... I love the Apsaros. They're big, stupid monsters. I don't think I've ever hunted even them for fucking meat as I do the Aptonauts. And then, of course, like, oh, she's water. She's like, yeah, go get some water. And then, oh, Cephalos jump scare. Why was a Cephalos in water? It's a sand monster. Whatever. Let's nitpicking again. But still, fuck this movie.
Listen,
whatever. We have a fun scene to get to.
He got to have a fun scene where he's like, bait.
Yeah, bait.
I thought
they cut it up and then they'll less little boom doom doom. They got some. No, they don't play this. No, they do not because this movie that would be good. This movie's bad.
Okay.
No, he makes some beef with the Cephalos. And she's like, chocolate.
Mistake.
And he says, oh, chocolate. And she's like, yeah, chocolate, sure. And then she eats. She's like, chocolate. Yeah, chocolate. And then he drinks something which I guess is alcohol.
That was alcohol.
It should have been a potion, but whatever.
To me, I was like, oh, that's a potion.
No, yeah.
The way they reacted, they said alcohol.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give them a pass because I saw potion and I'm treating it as a potion.
I wish it was. That would have been interesting. But no. Then overnight, they're camped out, and then we get a big old Rathalos flying over the forest, which is like, oh, hell yeah, Rathalos the scene. Great.
The Rathalos is the biggest flaw of this movie.
Oh, yeah, and we'll get to why in a fucking second. But
we will agree by the end of this movie, I promise.
But then suddenly a big giant balls of fire and all the Apsaros and shit are running through the forest as a big stampede. Oh, no. So you're like napped up or like tied up or something like that? I feel like he's like not helping with the giant stampede of Apsaros.
I don't know where he is in this.
But anyway, oh boy, Ron Perlman back in the movie pops out of nowhere with the switch axe, and he's swinging around at nothing. He's just swinging this fucking switch axe around in the air, not doing anything with it. And then Mila Jovovich jumps in, and she has her daggers, and she's also swinging at nothing as the stampede veers around them from the fire. They're shooting fire at the monsters who are trying to escape a fire. It's a what the fuck is this piece of shit scene?
All right. Here's what I got from that.
I mean, I know what they're doing, but it's fucking stupid.
They're dissuading the
they're trying to get them to not running into them. They're switching up the stampede, but what the fuck is that scene?
It was to me. I didn't see. I liked the stampede scene.
Why?
This was a scene that showed off because it wasn't just one. It was a badass move for him to just jump into the middle of a stampede
and start swinging at nothing like a fucking.
Well, what is he going to do?
Person?
Kill them?
Yeah. Or no? How about he doesn't do that? How about he jumps down, does one attack at one of them, and then that one doesn't die, maybe. Turns away, and then all of them start swishing around him. That'd be fine. That's what's like.
Well, they're running from the Rathalos, so he's basically diverting.
Yeah. I get the point of the scene. Man. It's a shitty scene that looks silly.
Also, let's look at this. Yes, they can figure shit out better, but let's look at it from a concept of like having to hunt down a bunch of monsters is going to be very difficult, especially for something that none of us hunt. None of us hunt these things. Let's be honest.
But also, Apsaros are fucking comedically not dangerous.
But in this,
so why is it making them scary in a fucking for like that?
It wasn't. Yeah. I think the stampede.
The stampede is supposed. Yeah, stampede is supposed to be dangerous. And
wildebeest isn't scary, but y'all. How many of us were terrified of wildebeest when we watched The Lion King, who killed a goddamn king?
Yeah, wildebeest are dope as hell.
But Apsaros are just wildebeest with pigs on their backs.
I wish he fucking just
turtle shells.
Turtle shells. Yeah, I wish he would just fucking swung around a fucking big thing and scared them for a couple of minutes. A big waste of time and of a cool weapon.
I don't disagree with that. And honestly, too, what I think I liked as well. Oh, Tony Jaa was with I I forget the other hunter. The handler and Hunter and someone
Aiden
else.
pop up. Yeah,
yeah,
the
and
Hunter.
they had a fun scene too, where they're like using their like the someone gets saved and like they're like he's like running on the backs of the abs.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yeah.
Cool shot. Makes no sense.
For a dumb
running
joke,
off of a
sucks.
cliff. But listen, it was a fun. There were logistical, make no sense moments, but overall, I will argue it was a fun scene that I could turn my brain off and enjoy. Mm-hmm. And I think that is not something that you should overlook. Because listen,
was it fun? Sure. Did it look stupid and was pointless? Yes.
Because this is also this is a scene that should have shown up 30 minutes prior.
Oh yeah.
1,000% 30 minutes.
No, we need
prior.
15 minutes of them fucking around in the fucking desert, and you wanted to jump out of a window again.
They should not have been out of the movie for as long as they were.
No.
They should have been in this movie so much more. And if we're gonna take the concept of Mila Jovovich gets transported into the Monster Hunter world, they should have done shortened that amount. So we got to see her with them because there's so many things about the ending that are direct result of their fuck-ups with the setup into it.
The pacing of this movie, like I said, no shot longer than 27 seconds. Scenes that just fucking, a whole team of 6 fucking asshole characters named, followed, a little bit of dumb comedy around them, and they're all fucking killed in one scene. Then cut to wandering around together for fucking like 10, 15 minutes of nothing happening. The movie's all over the fucking dumbass place. But now it's about to find for another fucking jump because after they swing at nothing and all the stampedes averted, she's like, "Oh, thank you, Ron Perlman," and he's like, "Don't thank me yet." And she's like, "What?" Boop. And then he bops her in the head, and fucking she's knocked out. Yeah, now for the 4th time, she's kidnapped once again, and she's now thrown in jail. And the handlers and the hunter are like catcalling and whistling at her while she's locked up. What the fuck is this? What the hell is this shit? They're also speaking alien language again, which I don't know what the fuck it is. It may be the actual language, maybe their native tongues. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, they're catcalling and whistling at her like she's an animal in a cage, not just a person that they fucking just rescued. And so she like kicks the thing and they're like, "Oh," and they all scatter around like a bunch of fucking children. And then what does she do? Oh no, she's captured. She uses a bench and hits the lock, and the door opens.
She pulls the only and proper Jack Sparrow trick. Well, not even know.
She's dumber than Jack. She's much dumber than what Jack Sparrow would do.
Actually, I realized that wasn't Jack Sparrow didn't come up with that. Will used that because he told Jack about how the bars were made.
Yeah, no,
she just figures it out.
Yeah, no, she just gets it with a fucking bench.
This made no sense because why are they not going to trust her? She's with the person that they know.
And Tony Jaa could have just said, "Hey, she rescued me. She's a person from." But
he looks at her, and then they end up being like, "Oh yeah, I guess I was told I misjudged you."
But also,
why did you judge her wrong? You saved her.
Well, yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we have to get that. That's after they actually talked to her, which is
they saved her and then kidnapped her.
Yeah.
Why?
Because this movie is dumb and bad and shitty. But
why did you waste my time?
Speaking of wasting time,
I'm with you on this. Fuck this scene.
This scene now. This
scene. Yes. What's her? Because listen, I can tell you what purpose potentially the other scenes served, and you can see the good in them. This makes no sense. There is no logic.
Nope.
There is not even the movie's logic makes this scene a good scene. It does not. Fuck this scene.
Yeah.
Fuck this logic. Fuck you, Paul Anderson. Hey, if you want to be on the podcast, let me know.
No.
Hit me up at do we have an email?
What's it called? Just Matthew Lewis Podcast at Blue Sky.
Matthew Lewis Podcast at Blue Sky. Hit us up and let us know. You can be on the podcast. We will probably make fun of you and rip into you. But if you send us
mlpodcast.bluesky.social.
At mlpodcast.bluesky.
It's just the Blue Sky. Just go this Matthew Lewis Podcast at Blue Sky.
Matthew Lewis Podcast at Blue Sky. Hit us up. You can be on the podcast. We will rip into you. We will give you hard-hitting questions. But if you send us a sift drink, we will probably soften up by the end of things.
Maybe. Probably not me.
Well, I'll make sure you have...
Yeah.
Send 2. Send double.
Double, yeah, sure, double. Now we get to the fucking scene where she's once again wandering around this ship with no staff, seemingly, and she just happens across the muscular chef from Monster Hunter World. What a great cameo. What a clever, really, well-crafted and seamless cameo of a real important scene and how to really show Palico's a real important giant aspect of the Monster Hunter games.
I have no defense.
A weird... the worst CGI in the movie is the fucking muscular chef, and it's inexplicable because he looks nothing like a normal Palico, and they never ever fucking refer to him as a Palico. He's just a fucking weird monster chef.
I thought they said
no, he says, "Don't you know?" Like she's like, "What?" And like a fucking shitty comedy scene actor. And then later when she sees Ron Perlman, she's like, "What? You guys don't have cats in your world?" Then that's the most they ever refer to whatever the fuck. People who don't know Monster Hunter see anything like, "What the fuck is that thing?" A cartoon cat. That's what they saw. A fucking cool cat with one eye and big muscles.
Listen, we've been arguing a lot. I'm on your side. Like,
yeah, it looks bad and it's completely pointless.
I loved seeing him, but I agree. It does not, like, for as good as I will say as the CGI team did on the monsters, despite the colorations, that was a fake looking monster. And Rocket Raccoon exists, so there's no excuse.
Yes, and they just guess what? Even more
this movie came out after
2020.
Zootopia.
A billion great things came out. It's 2020.
Zootopia literally came up with like individual hair strand technology.
Sony has the money.
Listen, I know that exactly. Sony has the money to borrow and or get the technology that Disney used for a full CG movie. There's no excuse. I'm with you on this. And as fun as it was to see a Palico especially in the movie, what purpose did it serve?
Nothing.
Nope. Listen, the scenes I have defended, I can point to something and say, this scene at least built into this. This scene explained this. The Palico scene did nothing.
They literally showed like 10 seconds. Not even, like they showed
it was a jump scare.
Jump scare, and they showed 10 seconds of the a half second of the cooking animation from World that everyone loved of the food being made. He like flipped over a big slab of meat and then cut a little chunk of it off and moved it with his sword and then like sprinkled some salt on it.
Am I the only one who never watches those?
I watched them once.
I never watched them.
No, they're delicious and they make me hungry.
If I've ever seen them, I don't remember.
Yeah, them. they're just overly like food porn subreddit or Blue Sky thing or whatever. So yeah, after that, now we get the actual full exposition for what this fucking movie has been about the entire time. We're over an hour in now. The ancients, they built a tower. People from your world come over before. The reason we locked you up is because I don't trust your people. Maybe your people had something to do with whatever the ancients did.
But also, I don't trust your people, but I learned their language.
Yeah, I studied your people.
Because Ron Perlman speaks English.
And then this is when we get the line, the Sky Tower, which connects our world, is guarded by the most deadly of all creatures. The most powerful and dangerous of dragons. The Rathalos. That's right. And as I'll bring up a reviewer again I saw, they're saying that this thing is supposed this thing, which is the equivalent of Pikachu for Monster Hunter. It is a basic mascot, early, not even fucking wall for gameplay wise, is the most unbeatable, powerful thing to play. This Pikachu. Everyone knows Pikachu is the most powerful Pokemon there's ever been. There's not been a single... It gets weaker when it evolves. That's why you gotta keep it cute. And it's the most strongest thing. It's completely... You can't hurt a Pikachu unless it's using a thunder attack at you at that time. That's the only time it's vulnerable.
That's called a Pichu.
Yeah. No. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. This fucking undigivolved Agumon is fucking the strongest Digimon in the whole thing.
All right. So... I missed the dick sucking of the Rathalos.
It was real stupid.
But I will say that Rathalos does kind of, especially for the let me finish.
Beginners.
Let me finish. Let's take a Monster Hunter game, and you think you're the first time you've ever played it. The Rathalos does tend to be the point where a hunter becomes less of a beginner and does become a true quote-unquote hunter. It being the most powerful thing ever. Yes, I agree that with you. That is a way over-exaggeration. But it's not nothing. And the Rathalos being known as, because if I'm not mistaken, isn't it referred to as the king of the sky?
Yeah.
Because the Rathian is the queen of the sky, obviously.
Yeah,
Rathalos, Rathian, male, female. Anyway, so my issue with the Rathalos guarding it isn't that it's a Rathalos. My issue is actually with him. They mentioned that the ancients are controlled, and I've made this monster guard this tower.
Yeah.
So the ancients are controlling this monster.
Yeah,
we will
day.
not explain how the ancients are controlling one of the most, like, again, let's take it for what it is. You're talking about a basically the Rathalos is I don't want to call it the Andy Dalton, but let's call it the Andy Dalton of monsters. If you are lesser than it, you are weak. If you are greater than it, you are good. If you are at it, you are adequate.
Yeah.
You are at the midpoint of your ability to become a hunter. If you cannot overcome the Andy Dalton hurdle, you will never be great. You will never be a good hunter if you cannot beat a Rathalos.
Yeah.
So that's not nothing. I think that is, and I think that is, like, I say that as if it's an average thing, but I think that is a legitimate glass ceiling for people to have, especially if you're talking about in the concept of the world of Monster Hunter. Not everybody is going to be able to beat a Rathalos.
Yeah.
Despite the training, despite the prep, despite the weapons. So that is, I think, a good level threat to have. We are talking about a group of whomever that don't get explained, that don't get any backstory or anything told to us
about the guild.
They are able to control, despite being gone for who knows how long.
Oh yeah.
They can continuously make Rathalos guard this specific tower that is able to transport people, beings, and all these different things between dimensions. What the fuck is this garbage ass film doing?
Yeah.
Making something sound so incredible and doing fuck all with.
Yeah.
You were able to make me argue in defense of Mila Jovovich getting characterized well, to make me defend these filler scenes that could have been done in one. So many things I have defended up until this point. We are at the point, however, that there are very few things I can defend, and it stems from the fucking Rathalos being controlled without any explanation, without any proper stakes given to us.
Nope.
In all honesty, it wasn't until I remembered I had seen this movie before and I knew the Rathalos was in it that when in the very beginning of the film they mentioned glass around the Bravo team kill site, which still makes no sense.
No.
But it was when they mentioned the glass, I said, oh yes, Rathalos. Rathalos are tough. Rathalos is seen as super tough, and it's in this movie. What has the Rathalos done in this film besides shoot one fireball at a herd of Apsaros that caused a stampede that, in all honesty, the threat level didn't come from the Rathalos.
Yeah,
it came from the threat of being
Apsaros.
trampled by the Apsaros.
Yeah.
This is ironically, this is the Mila Jovovich character of Resident Evil 2 of monsters in this movie. It doesn't do anything, but gets talked about as if it's the most incredible thing ever.
Very stupid.
And it does one or two things that on its own are powerful, but in the context of the film mean fuck all. My God, we're at the point. This is where the movie started turning, because I agree, this movie took way too long to get to this moment.
Oh yeah.
And I'm pissed because I like the little bit we get at the end for the most part. There's a scene at the end where my mood shifts even more so. Like, you know how you felt at the 50-minute mark where you said, fuck this movie, I hate this, this is the worst thing ever?
No.
There's a point at the end that I get to that same moment. And I was trying to channel the inner me that was still enjoying the film and able to shut it off enough of the voice of the alarm bells in my brain. There is a point we're going to get to. But when we get to that moment, we will get to that moment.
All right, so we get a little montage of a bunch of different biomes. Oh, wait, the next morning on the ship while they're getting off, suddenly now the ship has a giant crew, which wasn't there the fucking previous night when it seemed completely empty. But just like another minor nitpick of the shitty directing of this movie.
See, the crew wasn't what bothered me. What bothered me is the jump cut.
Yeah.
Because I want to see that. This is what I was talking about
She should
earlier.
be like spending the whole night fighting all about this fucking world, and that actually this should have been happening at the 15-minute mark of this movie, but as opposed to now.
You know what? I'm gonna be nice. I'll give them the 30-minute mark.
Sure, 30-minute mark, pushing it a little bit, but we're finally addressing what the hell the world is. Finally, at that point, nope,
we're not. And this is what pissed me off too. Is why did we spend time in the fucking desert and waste a bunch of time?
No.
Because, like I said, all that early stuff could have been done so much quicker, and we could have gotten scenes of this. Because think about this, too. We got a training montage of her, a little bit, but how interesting would it have been? She got a training montage with Ron Perlman, who's supposed to be the commander.
Yeah.
Right? He's the commander?
The admiral or something? Yeah.
The admiral, commander?
Yeah.
He's the...
He should be,
he's the dude who in Monster Hunter World, which is clearly based off of, is like a legendary hunter.
I mean, he picks up a gigantic boulder and puts it in front of the Rajang's beam and stops the Rajang. That's like in a cutscene in World. This dude.
I don't remember that scene.
Very fucking cool.
Well, now I have to play through World again. Thanks a lot.
This whole fucking thing's being...
Thankfully, I can play my PS4
World.
games on my PS5 that I bought.
Hell yeah. We got a fucking little upscale maybe. But yeah, fucking next morning, it's literally they walk through the forest and a bunch of interesting biomes until it's a dark and stormy night.
They could have used that moment. To hell, they could have used even 3 to 5 minutes of these scenes to help explain everything up to it. Again, the Nursella could have been explained. The Diablos could have been explained. All those ships could have been explained. We could have gotten some quick fire resolutions to things that were set up, but we could have gotten interesting backstory and lore, and also seen a connection between this group of hunters and Mila, who's clearly Artemis is her name, but we don't fucking call her that.
No, yeah.
Because she doesn't do anything to
Jovovich.
distinguish herself as Artemis.
No, yeah.
She's just Mila Jovovich
Yeah.
in a Paul Anderson film.
I'm going to spoil the Netflix mini-movie.
Have connected them together.
I'm going to spoil the Netflix Legends of the Guild 15-minute movie at the end of this for what an actual good potential plot for this goddamn thing would be, because it's an okay thing, but it's a mini thing. But anyway, a dark and stormy night, which I saw somebody point out that a raining lightning storm, perfect for Rathalos. Water and electricity. No, both of those are its weaknesses too. Water and electricity, smart. The Rathalos pops up.
And also get Ron Perlman looking very wet.
With
his terrible
dirty.
wig.
Yeah, his terrible
Everyone
wig.
else has great hairstylists.
Well,
those were hairstylists.
Well, who knows? That could be wigs though. They're all cosplay. That's like I said. I've heard them as cosplay hands.
The guy who had the red mohawk.
The
if that was a wig,
Aiden,
if that was a wig. That was
probably his real hair. That was probably real. That's easy.
That was a man who was traditionally bald and cut his hair to get that haircut.
It's very.
Everyone else, I listen. If there's a wigs, then even more credit to the costumers.
Yeah. But
Ron Perlman's hair,
crazy.
You clearly we know where the money ran out.
Yeah.
We know who got their wig done last.
But yeah, the Rathalos lands, and for like a split second I was like, wait a minute. Looking at the Rathalos in this lighting, I was like, is it a fucking Azure Rathalos? Because I thought it looked blue. In the dark, in the rain, and everything, when it was lit up by the lightning, it looked for a second blue. And I was like, oh my god. It's like, I was like, was the other one a black Diablos? Because they had to explain his behavior and its toughness. And I was like, is this a fucking Azure Rathalos? Because I was pissed off when these idiots said Rathalos is the most powerful monster and it's unbeatable unless it's in the middle of blowing fire. And I'm like, what the fuck ever. If this is an Azure Rathalos, that's actually scary, and actually that would make justify this. No, it's just shitty lighting on this cool CGI monster who, like, most of the time in old 90s and 2000 shows and movies, whenever something was, they would put a monster or something in, like, a dark, rainy setting because it's easier to make the CGI look good. See Godzilla, the original Godzilla, not original, the 90s American Godzilla.
That's a lot of fish.
See Jurassic Park.
That's a lot of fish.
That's a lot of shit. You should have said. But yeah,
I use that. By the way, I use that quote all the time.
That's a lot of fish.
Whenever Leanne's telling me about about something like this, something crazy that had like a lot of something, I always say that's a lot of fish.
So stupid.
It's a good line. Listen, for a terrible film and a terrible line, it's a good ass fucking quote.
Mr. Papadopoulos, that funny Greek names. Anyway, they would put something in like dark and stormy atmosphere to hide CGI in the old days, and I mean the very old days. And I mean like fucking 25 plus years ago. So I was like, oh great, they're gonna fucking really lazy out on this fucking Rattle. What a piece of shit movie. I mean, it's been a piece of shit, but anyway, besides shitting on that. The fight scene starts. No one's able to harm it, as they said.
And Ace and Steeler get killed by the Rathalos.
I wrote that down. I did. I wasn't sure, but yeah.
I don't know who those two were.
No, yeah, fucking the handler and fucking Aiden, the young Ace or whatever, both seemingly get fucking killed by the Rathalos. That was them? Yeah.
I thought that was just two random people.
No, that was them.
That was not
them. Oh, no. Multiple people are... No. A bunch of randos with weapons do get killed. But then we see like a funny little dumb gag scene where the young Ace is like running up at it like da-da-da, you hear heroic music, and then he gets slapped into, he hits a brazier, he hits the corner of a giant stone pillar, and then flies into the darkness.
He's not dead.
I mean, yeah, well, presumably. But then the handler also gets fucking like tail swapped like into a giant fucking thing and is just like
why was
done.
She even there then?
I don't know. This movie's fucking shit.
But I see. I made the joke that Ace and Steeler died because those are the two names I remembered from the
Axe and Steeler. Axe and Steeler.
Ace is some.
The young Ace is what Aiden's name is in like the Monster Hunter games and stuff, I believe. Right? The young hunter. The guy with the red-haired duck-haired thing.
That's right.
His name is Aiden. But he's referred to as like the young Ace or something sometimes.
Maybe that's why.
But I said Ace.
Maybe Axe and Dash got mixed into Ace because I recognize there was a close enough.
They're all meaningless. They're all meaningless assholes.
Got turned into Axe.
The only character who gets a name is my wife, Mila Jovovich. Everyone else is Admiral or Hunter or a nicknamed military person who dies immediately. She's the only character in this movie.
Why do they all have nicknames?
Because fuck this movie. Because fucking Paul W. Anderson is a fucking hack.
At least
come defend your title. If you don't come on our podcast and defend your title, you are a hack and you're admitting to it.
You know what? I'm good with him on that. Also, like at the very, though I'll give credit. At least we don't have to learn the nicknames because how many times do we listen? The fact that I can ask why did they have the nicknames and there's no answer in the movie. Again, how many times have you watched a movie that has a nickname and they spend 5 minutes explaining or showing the backstory of that nickname?
Yeah.
Listen, I will give not credit. I will say at the very least, thank you for making me be able to ask that at this moment, having seen the movie twice, and not know the answer, because at least there was a few things that I have defended, and those things weren't cut even shorter, because you had to tell me why this motherfucker's called Dash.
Yeah, dumb
I
as
don't
shit.
care why they're called Dash.
Dumb as shit. Anyway,
I want to be...
Yeah.
Make a movie where I don't have to question it, though, you son of a bitch.
No.
Hey, come on the podcast.
No.
But fuck you. But hey.
They're all using fire weapons to fight the fucking Rathalos, which is stupid. Ron Perlman's using his big dumb fire switch axe, which is ineffective. Mila Jovovich's dual blades, they seem to have electricity or like orange electricity on them, but then when she demon modes, but when she goes demon mode, fire shows up on them, so I don't fucking know.
Was it? I thought it was always just like...
She like clicks them together for the demon mode and fire flames. I guess maybe that's supposed to represent that, but it looks like fire damage to me.
To me, that's what it was representing, was that she went into demon mode.
Yeah, I guess.
Which she went into immediately. Like, you're not going to have any build-up into it. And you're going to burn out really quickly at the start of a fight. Come on!
The fight's about to really pop out, and then she gets swatted into the portal, and she pops back out of the storm, and now she's back in the real world. Aren't you happy? Isn't this the great climax of the movie?
This is where the movie pissed me off. That right there. That right fucking there. This is the moment. This is the moment that fucking no. Bucky, no. No!
This was the whole premise of the movie. This was the whole reason for the season.
No!
This promo footage was the whole reason this movie got made. Piece of shit.
Fuck! This...
She wakes up in the middle of the desert, once again perfectly fine. Scared my cat. And suddenly a bunch of military people are like, hey, Captain Artemis, we found you. You're rescued. We're here to rescue you, Captain Artemis. And she's like, huh?
Fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them.
Fuck them all.
And then they pick her up. They put her in the plane. They're getting ready. Like, hey, we found her. We lost the rest of Alpha Team. We still have no response from Beta Team. Beta Team. Whatever. They fucking start flying off, and then out of nowhere.
Wait a second, hold on. Before that all, when she wakes up from some house once again, falling through a portal and landing, seemingly at high speeds, mostly okay. She thinks she sees the Rathalos. Oh, but it's the
helicopter.
It's the helicopter.
Yeah,
and then she gets on the plane, and there's like a shadow that goes across. But nope, that was explained by a person. So, there's a tease. Oh, there's a tease. There's like 20 minutes left, but I'm sure she escaped the Rathalos. Oh, how lucky she is that she doesn't have to see this terrifying monster again.
There were multiple planes there. She fell through the portal at some point. She's by herself. The sky's completely clear. There's like 3 or 4 helicopters and tilt rotor planes there, including a fucking jet. And then out of nowhere,
a tank.
Yeah, just like somehow just we talked about Godzilla a second ago, somehow popping out of a fucking corner, even though it's in the middle of the city, stealthily sneaking up on people. The Rathalos comes out of nowhere and bites the front of the jet off. The front of the jet gets eaten off by the Rathalos, and then this kicks off the only good scene, I think, in this entire 90-minute movie.
Okay.
I
thought we were going to be on the same point.
Nope, this 3-minute segment is the best thing in the whole movie.
No,
this 3-minute segment is the best.
You're wrong.
Guess what? Way back in fucking 2010 and all those dumb promo images of Gormagala in LA airport killing people or whatever was happening, and Rathalos was there too for some reason. I was like, wow, this seems stupid. I can't wait to see this piece of shit. Now I finally get the premise paid off. We get to see a montage of the Rathalos completely being impervious to bullets, impervious to missiles and rockets, anti-tank weapons. Let's see, it grabs the front off of the tilt rotor helicopter. It grabs the top of a jet, rips that apart as well. A tank, it just takes the top fucking turret of the barrel of the cannon off the top of the turret of the tank. It just fucking is killing everything. All the military people are completely useless. Everyone's dying and getting killed. But then, of course, Mila Jovovich, the director's wife, pulls out those dual blades and...
while everyone is getting brutally murdered,
100%.
She's taking her sweet-ass time, pulling the dual blades out of the fancy case and pulling out her grappling hook.
Putting everything on, getting ready. She jumps on the Rathalos for a bit. She rips up in its wings. What a fun 3-minute scene of this piece of shit. I'm enjoying myself finally. And of course, it's not with no use. It's for some reason, it's this impervious, ultimate, max level Rathalos, King of the Skies, is still too powerful for her. But then she sees a flare and she gets an idea. Wait a minute, the only time a Rathalos is ever vulnerable is when it's in the middle of burning flame. So she grabs a flare, throws it at the Rathalos in the mouth, and it blows up for some reason, because that's how it works, I guess. Fuck this movie. It's injured, it's dead, she's happy, she's got cool guys don't look at explosions, walk away. When, oh no, it's the serial killer jump scare thing where the Rathalos gets back up and starts attacking her again. But this time, Tony Jaa also through the portal, I guess, and he's he's there with her now too. And guess what? He has an insect glaive. Oh boy. They managed to defeat the stupid Rathalos. Everyone's happy. Let's see. Ron Perlman's back, also great. But then, of course, just like in the end of Mortal Kombat 2, they're like, well, everybody, we fucking did it. We defeated the big bad. And then the skies turn dark and a big portal opens up. And oh my God, it's a Gormagala for no reason. And it flies through the portal and they all leap through, flinging the weapons into the air, and credits. But of course not really, because we get an airplane shot of some asshole in a cloak watching them from the cliffside.
In the Monster Hunter world.
Yeah, in the Monster Hunter world. Back in the Monster Hunter world, I guess now. They're back at the tower. Because remember, the movie's about destroying the tower. Now they're going to jump back through the portal and destroy the tower. Credits. But stupid as shit.
Don't you forgot to mention. Gormagala is back in the Monster Hunter world.
Yeah, back in the world.
And who is facing off against it? Not Mila Jovovich.
Nope.
Not Tony Jaa. Not Ron Perlman. Nope. It's the fucking Palico Chef.
Yay, my favorite game mode ever. The Palico Chef is back. You can play the Palico now. And then he like, meow, does a meow, and he runs up the camera, and yay, credits roll, and everyone in the theater shits their pants on how much they love it.
We are in... I thought we'd be
No. I think the only good part of this entire fucking 90-something minute movie is when the Rathalos is destroying Earth military equipment.
I disagree.
That's fun. I think it's fun.
I disagree.
I think it's fun how bad it is. But then the Gormagala, the stupid, everyone has new weapons just to show off people that go by the game or whatever the fuck.
Okay,
that
you and I agree on
that
the
shit
Gormagala.
Sucked. The Gormagala fucking, that shit was
Rathalos.
offensive. I like Gormagala a lot. That shit was fucking dumb as shit.
The Gormagala, you and I
Dumb
agree
as
on.
shit.
The
So
Rathalos,
random.
The
The Rathalos
Rathalos,
was
you and I
dumb.
disagree.
Yeah.
We agree on the Gore. We disagree on the Rathalos.
Oh, yeah.
So
End of movie, FYI.
yes. So here's why I hated the Rathalos scene.
Yeah.
Because, and honestly, I'll say this. I think it's because it was at the end. We are at the point of the film. We know that monsters are impervious to human weaponry.
Yeah.
We did not need to see these. I point to the early soldier deaths, at the very least, were used to show the deadliness of the monsters, of how unequipped regular Earth people are at fighting these monsters and these otherworldly beings.
The rocket scene should have been the end of that.
Right.
The
And
Diablos is
the
the purpose.
Rathalos just ripping through these people. We know the Rathalos is powerful. We don't need...
Nope.
Because we've seen what we know the Rathalos is stronger than Diablos. And we've seen what Diablos can withstand. We don't need a scene of it taking shots from a tank and a jet and all these soldiers. Their deaths did not serve any purpose, but this, I think, because I watched the trailer, this was all trailer footage.
Yeah.
This whole 3 minutes
That was it.
was shot to put in the trailer.
100%, yeah.
And that is why I get pissed off.
Such a
because
waste of time.
Mila Jovovich spends how fucking much time to pull out 2 swords while countless dozens of humans are being brutally murdered for no purpose. Like,
Because it looks cool.
the one that told me I don't like this was the tank. Because it rips the tank off the top off the tank. That's okay, whatever. Then it pulls one guy out, throws him up into the air, and eats him.
Yeah.
And that just felt cruel. I knew it was powerful.
Yeah.
I didn't feel
Very
great.
shitty.
I felt gross. And I'm watching these kills and these deaths, and I'm like, this doesn't feel like it's doing anything. But ironically, despite me watching a guy getting impaled through the chest by a Diablo spear, a guy got
Eaten in half by a Narcilla.
Eaten in half by a Narcilla.
Another one filled with eggs.
Another one, I watched the eggs embedded under his skin hatch. And that made me feel less gross and disgusted than watching someone get thrown into the air and eaten like that by the Rathalos.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like, if that was a character who I had watched and come to care about, I think that would have been impactful.
Yeah.
You know? If that had been one of those soldiers somehow that lasted throughout the entire Monster Hunter world, and he gets back to Earth, he jumps into a tank, and he gets killed there, that would have impacted me.
Yeah.
This was a random, nameless soldier who purposefully, without purpose, died. Because Mila Jovovich decided to take her fucking time pulling out the only weapons, apparently, that are capable of touching the Rathalos. And also, too, what pissed me off, okay, the Rathalos is powerful. She ripped its wings straight open.
Yep.
I thought it was only vulnerable when it's breathing fire.
Yeah.
That did a fucking good-ass job of slowing it and pissing it off and slowing it down.
Yeah.
Honestly, the only part of the whole end Rathalos scene on Earth that I enjoyed was when Tony Jaa shows up. Because I thought she killed it with a fucking flare fired from her hook shot.
Yeah, dumb as
that's
shit.
lame. Then he shows up and he's able to he takes advantage of the massive opening.
Yeah.
Literal, it has fucking gaps in its neck.
Yeah, it's exploded, yeah.
And it's still thriving. That was cool. to the point where Tony Jaa killing it was like, again, the same reason I will defend the Rathalos scene where it dies. This was not a kill that happened because one person did something. This was a teamwork effort. And honestly, I'll give credit to this too. So, the Diablos gets killed. Tony Jaa's character does the bulk of the work. Mila Jovovich puts the dagger in and finishes it off.
The dagger, yeah, because it's a tiny fucking greatsword.
Yeah. But conversely, the Rathalos work gets done by Mila Jovovich. But Tony Jaa is the one who gets the ultimate kill.
Yeah.
That right there is awesome and makes it a cool death. I'm like, this character who I have come to like, I will defend this character, and despite my hatred that I have foamed at this point, the character of Tony Jaa played of the Hunter is perfect, and his kill of the Rathalos is incredible. Straight up.
Yeah.
And it was because of that earlier scene. I think that was a good setup. I think that was a good payoff. And it works. That scene is the whole end scene, though, is garbage, because I don't need multiple random extras being filmed, being killed for trailer shot when I could have spent time watching this Rathalos doing things that showed me how powerful it was. I didn't need to watch it rip a plane out of the sky to know that it's dangerous. I didn't, honestly, the only part of that end scene that made me say that Rathalos is powerful was when, with explosions through its entire body and gaping holes in its neck, it stood up and was still fighting. Yeah. That was what made me say, that's a powerful monster. Yeah, that is the only time I have ever in this movie said that is a powerful monster.
Yeah, this movie sucks shit. I would say that this movie was bad. We'll hear Chris and Ben's pitches for a better movie, but I just want to real quick spoil the Legends of the Guild thing. It starts off with the young hunter back in his young days, random village kid. Almost gets killed by a Velociprey, whatever the big one is.
Drome.
The
drones are the big ones. The prey are the little.
Like Eodrome's one of my favorites. But he gets saved by a hunter. He says, "Hey, you're poaching if you don't have a license." And then they take it back to the village. He says, "What are you doing here? You're an official hunter." And he says, "Okay, it's an elder crossing. A fucking Lunastra is coming. It's gonna fucking destroy your whole village because it's gonna destroy this whole valley." The Teostra, the blue Teostra female.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, said she's gonna come through here. She's gonna destroy your whole country. Yeah, that looks stupid.
Real quick, I'm just gonna throw this out, and maybe it's because I'm 6 beers in. So, spoilers. I'm 6 beers in.
Nice.
The Teostra, the Deora Kushala, and the Chameleos. Like, I get that they're big flagship elder dragons. Just like the Kirin, I don't like them.
I think Kushala Deora is one of my fucking least favorite. That was right off the list of I fucking hate that stupid thing.
The fact,
I think Lunastra and Teostra look stupid. I don't hate them, but I think they're annoying to fight. And I think they look stupid.
They're annoying to fight, and I agree. Yeah. They look basic.
Yeah.
The Kush, I hate the problem that the fact that you have to use poison against it. Yeah. The one credit I'll give,
my heavy bow gun, I can just blast it to death, but still.
Agreed, but especially because with coatings, I have so few of them, so I'd never want to use them because because it will negate shots with that thing. The only thing I will say is Chameleos, at the very least, just like Nursilla, has the weird movements.
It's a fun weird fight.
It has some weird movements that I do appreciate. But overall, the Chameleos is annoying as fuck.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's annoying as shit, but it's a fun, interesting fight.
It's less annoying than the other two. Yeah. But I just had to say that because you mentioned the Lunastra and the Teostra, and that connected me to that. But they were onto my list.
They're not. They're neither no Elder Dragon but Gogmazios. He's going back to the village. The village doesn't leave him. That's all right. The village doesn't believe him, and they don't want to leave. It gets stronger when you break really? Nergigante is very annoying. Nergigante, I think, is annoying, but it's on. We'll hear about it.
But that's a very interesting concept.
But
at the very least,
come on.
If you're going to give me a concept like this, listen. That is a good design. Just like the Val like it's about death, and it will cause you to lose health. So you have to avoid its death stink. I like that.
Yeah. The kid, the village people don't want to move, so they ignore him. The kid's like, okay, well, what the fuck are we gonna do? They go out, they try to find some more people to hunt. They spy on the monster. They say, we're gonna need some more hunters. So he shoots up a flare for more help. They find a Ursula. They find this like a hunter who's like, she's like in the bug outfit that I love, the butterfly one. She's using the what's it called, the insect glaive, and like actually was like friendly with her. There's also a little arc, but like a little palico that joins them, who's like actually the Melnyx. Was that the bad ones? There's the ones that steal your shit.
Yes, Melnyx.
Yeah, Melnyx. Yeah, it was a Melnyx that they like trick and blackmail into being their palico, and so he's like helping them transport stuff. It's fun.
What is this
He's
called
talking
again?
shit. Legends of the Guild. It's on Netflix. Just Monster Hunter Netflix. But yeah, so they fight an Ursula in a cool fight, and then they're saying, okay, we're gonna need some more help. So another hunter joins them. She's like an ex of the guy. They find a blacksmith who's also an ex-hunter but quit because he was just like poaching monsters because he hated them so much. They fight a Kangalala. And they actually show all of its mechanics. They show it just eating a mushroom. They show it farting up like, oh no, it's a parashroom. And he like eating the mushroom, and then he fucking farts a big paralyzing fart out, and then like also burps it later. But oh no, in the middle of this Kangalala fight, a fucking Devil Joe shows up, and then they fight. Then they let the Devil Joe beat the shit out of Kangalala, and then they defeat, because like, we could use the dragon energy from the Devil Joe to fuel the Dragonator for the fucking Lunastra coming. Guess what? All this is happening in a 50-minute fucking animated movie. And they defeat the Devil Joe. They make up a couple pickle jokes, of course, because you need them.
Of course.
And so yeah, then they train the whole village like fucking Filoni special style. Just like, okay, this is how we're gonna get ready. Everyone has their hunting weapons. They fight the Lunastra. They get their fucking shit kicked in every which way because it's a goddamn Elder Dragon, even with 4 professional hunters. You can take a Devil Joe, you can take a Kangalala and a Ursula, but the fucking Elder Dragon is a whole different level. Anyway, long story short, they eventually do defeat it in an unorthodox way, or at least divert it. And then, that's the end of the movie. But, that's a better plot. My personal pitch that I had for a better version of this, not even this movie, a better just Monster Hunter movie in general, it's only a couple sentences because we're already way past 4 hours, and this is going to be a long shit as hell podcast.
Are we broken the record?
Oh, we've way past the record, yeah. A young band of new trio of hunters. They go through some kind of training / school. They do some arena matches after they do that, because those are really the basic thing you learn. Then they fight one flagship with their teacher to make a team of 4 or whatever. They take down one flagship at the end of the movie, and then a post-credit scene teasing some Elder Dragon. That's like my 2-sentence pitch for a better real-world Monster Hunter movie than whatever the fuck this piece of shit was. We'll hear Chris and Ben's ideas a little bit later, but do you have anything? Well, how would you fix this movie as
so
simply as possible, because we're going to run long.
So if I were to,
it's going to be like a 6-hour podcast.
If I were to take, and I think, because you didn't pitch the question to me ahead of time.
No.
So I'm going to do something probably a little bit. I don't know what they did, because I haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah.
You have. So I'm going to take this film, and I think I'm going to try to fix it, quote unquote. 1, Rathalos is gone. No Rathalos.
But it's the Pikachu. You have to have the Rathalos.
No Rathalos. 2nd, Gore Magala is going to be introduced, and the Frenzy is going to be introduced or shown at some point on the Nursella we see and the Diablos we see. And we're going to, and basically, I'm even going to take I'm going to take this film into Mila Jovovich, transported from the human world into that. 1, we're never going back to the human world.
Yeah.
She does not go back to the human world, and we're not going back there. 2nd, the whole opening scene is a lot quicker, a lot faster, and basically we learn Nursella, because of the Frenzy, took over this once thriving ecosystem and turned it into this massive nest. And that's why the Diablos is basically, the Diablos that they kill is not actually trying to just stop them specifically. Diablos is trying to stop anything from leaving this island. It's basically the last guardian.
Yeah.
And it's not even frenzied. It's stopping the frenzy. It's almost a defender of it. But because they doesn't know or differentiate anything, everything that's on this island is considered frenzied and mass or whatever. So we're seeing the Nursella taking over this island. Yeah. And we're seeing, we see the Gypsaros one, but we're seeing, a fucking one that's got like a T-Rex skin on it, Barioth, all these fucking... We're fucking nightmare fueling these Nircella because they're fucking awesome.
Nircella's pretty great.
And everything. But that's all happening much quicker. We're getting to meet with Ron Perlman and them. We don't have a fucking waste of time where they capture her for no reason.
4 times.
Right. And we're seeing... So basically, she gets transported into this world in the middle of a lone, like what used to be a capital city, taken over by the Nircella because of the frenzy. We've seen hints at this Gore Magala through it. Diablos was keeping everything in for better or worse. Yeah. They make it out. They find Ron Perlman and the ship, and we see the journey of them making it through and dealing with this frenzy. To the point where when we get to the end, we're not seeing a fucking boring-ass Rathalos. We're seeing the Gore Magala being controlled, which to me is even more impressive. Mm-hmm. And they are able to, again, as a team, with some deaths, of course, there's going to be some connective loss. We see them take it down and destroy the pillar. She decides, I'm going to stay here because I know that I can't safely make it back. Yeah. They don't know how to activate it, of course, as well. And they have to destroy it before they kill the Gore. They get the win. She joins it because, again, I think that she shows she's a badass who could be a hunter. Yeah. She could be a great hunter given the training. Yeah. She's just not at that level. And, of course, our after-credits scene and it's quick, it's short, but it's fucking telling as hell. You see the corpse of the Gore Magala being... Let's give it rain to make it a little more ominous. It's being rained on. And as the raindrop goes, you see a pool of it under its scale that pops off, and you see gold pop out. Yeah. Boom. Setting up an Elder Dragon Shiguru Magala
would be fun.
After they've killed the Gore Magala.
Yeah.
It's not dead. Boom. Basically, what you're doing is you're putting context to every monster that we run into that you have to hard fight, and is even acting in ways that we've not seen or would think of in proper Monster Hunter.
Yeah, it'd be very fun.
So basically what we're doing is we're putting the costumes of Monster Hunter World into the Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate world.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Hey, the ultimate combination.
Exactly. And that's where you get a Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate mixture. That's right.
The best.
I name dropped Gen Double X. Boom. I'm making too many motions for a podcast.
Yeah. But yeah.
So short, right? 5 minutes?
Yeah, short idea. No, it's like there's a billion ideas that they could have done this fucking better with. It's silly and bad, this movie. I think, like I said, it's going to be very, very low on my list. We're not going to do lists yet, but we do, like I said... we're gonna have a cut of what you have something
real
else?
Real quick. Yeah. So I wrote this after, and I spent a good chunk of time after the movie was over writing this. There's probably gonna be typos because it was dark and it was late, and I was also very upset. I'm gonna read this as I wrote this, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
So I wrote this after I saw the post-credit scene. It said the film is an unresolved concept that has top-tier visuals, great ideas, incredible costume designs, and intriguing characters all around. What it does do is great, but it does not satisfy the viewer story-wise. It tries to make the watcher so enamored with reference to this scenes that it fails to deliver a coherent, consistent, and complete film. The ending being a cliffhanger tease is hubris at the cost of enjoyment, and honestly felt like a cheap bid to push for unsolicited fan calls for the sequel, while also using the Gore Magala in the trailer so blatantly for false engagement. And Monster Hunter is not a bad film because it was poorly made. It's bad because it was poorly produced, poorly advertised, and poorly scripted in terms of story. The film is bad because the loudest voice that shone through was the executive mandating shills instead of the brilliant costuming, incredible acting, and breathtaking visuals. And that is why I was defending it earlier. Mm-hmm. I don't think that this is a poorly filmed, poorly made movie. Terror of Tiny Town is terrible. And honestly, looking at this and hearing this, it's kind of I will say I think honestly I could say some of the films that not disliked in the past are similar to this. This is not. I look at this film and I don't see a bad effect. I don't see a bad character or even poor acting. Every actor was great. They looked great. The visuals of the monsters was great. It was the premise that came up behind it. It was that, like we mentioned earlier, that was the rotten pieces that shone through. And to me, that's why I think the ending ticked me off so much. I didn't feel resolved. There was no resolve or enjoyment at the end. I didn't get a conclusion. I finally got the fights I was wanting to, cheaply, with a bunch of filler before we got to see the person we wanted to see fight the monster. And even then, that wasn't that wasn't the final fight. That wasn't a conclusive fight. That was literally, they killed the Rathalos and straight up looked over and there's the fucking Gore Magala. And like, that was the problem with this film. I can look at so many bad movies and see poor acting and bad visuals or shitty CGI, and I can't point to that in this film. But I can point to every single problem and say that came from the top, and the top person is what ruined this movie. Mm-hmm. That is what pisses me off. That is why I literally, Leanne's like, because I went off on a tangent like this with Leanne after we watched it, to the point where she's like annoyed at me. She was annoyed at me afterwards, and it's like, I'm gonna have the same anger for the podcast, which I think I've had.
I mean, no, at 4.5 hours, we've spat our passions out about this movie. But
yeah, like I said, do I think that there are scenes that could have been cut out or better shot? Yes. The scenes that we got, though, I don't think were bad. The movie did not. Even the moments that drug still moved quickly. Mm-hmm. Even the scenes that were pointless still had great acting and great characters in them. But it was just like, there was so much potential here. And I think that's what makes it even worse sometimes. A film that I can look and I can see potential in. I can see good moments in. I can have fun, and I just get left with this film and a gross, nasty, fucked up feeling because it was spoiled for me. I mean, that's what I think was so gross about it. I know the Terror of Tiny Town is terrible going into it. I know that Bad Taste has bad special effects and is an era of its time, but I can find the fun in it. But the fun I found in this film was cut off by one person who had so much power, and especially in 2025, as we're watching sequels of video games and movies just get shit upon, we watch terrible things happen because of these 2 or 3 people who get all the voice and say of things. It's almost, honestly, I think that's why I'm feeling this way. This is, I mean, maybe it's a microcosm of just the environment that we're living in. But 1 or 2 people, their voice being amplified ruins it. And honestly, it's because I'm watching a YouTube channel named Oxhorn talk about Fallout lore, and he mentioned, and there was he's on the final Minutemen talks of the deep dive of the story and beating the game for each faction. And when listening to Mama Murphy, she will tell you like something about your future based on the faction you've chosen. Yeah. And she talks about, with the Minutemen, a better world, a better all this things. And if you think about it, and she's talking about the Minutemen, you join the Minutemen as a single person joining a bunch of other regular people. You're not a soldier in power armor fighting super mutants. You're not the cream of the crop institute coming up with its advancements beyond human imagination. You're not the railroad fighting, as an underground resistance for a bunch of people that don't care. You're just people coming together to make something great. And the Minutemen, and the best outcome for the Commonwealth is a bunch of voices who all together make one thing instead of an elder controlling your things, or the director controlling it, or even in simplistic individual cause that makes you blind to everything else. And the whole point of this rant is this film was one person controlling the narrative and ruining a narrative where so many great performances, great visuals, great designs, so many great ideas just died. We will never see the Gormagala fight. Yep. We will never see a conclusive Monster Hunter movie in our lifetime anytime soon, because one person, or maybe a small tiny amount of people, got to control what was put into that film. And that's what pisses me off more. That's why I think that this aggressive. It's not the 6 beers. It's not the 6 beers.
Sure.
Because I felt this upset at Justice League. Because one person's vision shone through and ruined it for me. And Monster Hunter was ruined by one fucking person who ruined what should have been, if not an enjoyable time, an adequate time that did not leave me wanting to chug beer after beer to talk about this fucking movie. That's my mic drop moment, because I'm not going to drop an actual
Yeah, about
mic.
to say, please don't
But
drop
I
my mic.
flipped my notebook. For those who aren't seeing this visually beside it, which is
of course
anyone who's listening to that to you.
No, I would say that, fuck this movie. It was one of the worst. I think that as in terms of video game movies recently, we've seen tons of them that are way, way fucking better than this. Besides Sonic, which we've already mentioned. Detective Pikachu fucking ruled. Yeah. Fucking Last of Us adaptation's fucking awesome.
I will admit I haven't seen those.
There's a billion great game adaptations since this piece of shit.
Even, honestly, the Super Mario Brothers movie.
The new one? Yeah, it was excellent. But again, we can't. Yeah, no more. Yeah, but I can't with it. I can't think about this movie for another second.
And it's such a shame because it's so honestly, you could have. They didn't need to follow the source material.
I mean, they could have followed source material and made a better movie.
They could have.
Actually, this is bad because they didn't follow source material.
Honestly, I don't think that's the case.
If this movie, you know what? I'll like 100%. I'm gonna say, yeah. Obviously, this is one person's fault because the fucking writer is the same person who is the director, who is the same person whose lead is the fucking wife of. Is fucking Paul W.S. Anderson made a shitty movie. Guess what? Mortal Kombat does not stick to the fucking plot of those games at all. Guess what? Resident Evil does not stick to the plot of those games at all. Guess what? Alien vs. Predator, which he also fucking directed, does not stick to the lore of either of those franchises either. He fucking sucks. He thinks he knows better than the audience. And guess what? Every time he makes a shitty product that everyone hates.
And honestly, again, he ruined his. Listen, I know that there's probably.
We're already at 4.5 hours. We've got to get to our dude's other video.
Mila Jovovich is not a bad actress.
She's fine.
She did good.
But guess what?
In this movie,
if she was a native to this world and they didn't have any of the fucking isekai shit, and the movie was almost the exact same, it would probably be about 2 degrees better in my brain. Honestly, it'd probably move up a couple spaces.
If they had let her actually explore and learn from the world, I think the isekai story would have worked. Again, if we got to meet Ron Perlman and them and got to see that cut from when they leave the ship to when they see the Rathalos on the tower, that right there could have potentially saved this movie if they didn't go back to Earth.
If ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
We'd all have watched a good fucking movie.
Yeah. I would normally say we would now cut to the boys see our responses from Chris and Ben, but one of the questions I asked them is a spoiler for what we're going to do next. So I will say that now, at this point, 4 hours and 34 minutes in, we're going to do plugs. I'm going to tell...
rankings?
We can do rankings after. We can do rankings after.
We're going to do plugs and then rankings?
We're going to do plugs. I'm going to tell you what the 2 options for the next movie are.
We got to do our rankings first. We always do our rankings before our final
so plugs. Rankings.
No, we do our rankings, plugs, and then the next movie.
We do. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
rankings and then plugs, and then next movie. And before that, before you say which one of those 2 movies I'm going to make you choose between, we're going to listen to Ben and Chris's responses. Because this is going to be the longest podcast we've ever fucking done in my goddamn life, hopefully.
Listen, I know what pisses me off is, like, again, the worst Monster Hunter game is still a top 10% game,
It's
in my
still
opinion.
fucking wonderful. But this
the
movie
worst of
shitty.
Monster Hunter games is incredible. And this could have been the worst Monster Hunter thing and still been fun, and it was ruined. And I think that's what pissed me off more than anything else.
Shit. Okay, so given where this is going to be on my list, I'm going to go first because
go from the best to the worst.
Yeah, I'm going to go from top down because obviously we switch it up every time. But number one goes without saying.
Freddy Got Fingered.
Of course, the greatest movie of all time.
Of course.
Number two, Willy's Wonderland. Nick Cage is wonderful. Better than the Five Nights at Freddy movies. Better than all the other ones that we compared it to. Number three, Road Trip, a solid comedy with some surprisingly progressive ideas, which we've gone over a million times.
Yep.
Freddy vs. Jason, a fun action movie that is the end of a legacy for 2 horror franchises, but it is a fun action movie.
Yep.
Digimon the movie, a very fun, very silly nonsense anime movie that barely makes any sense to anybody who's not incredibly indoctrinated into the Digimon story. But fun as hell, beautiful fights, beautiful monster designs. Episode 3 is number 6, Star Wars: The Revenge of the Sith. One of my favorite Star Wars movies. It's weird. It has issues, but it's a good end of an era. Some fun fights, some fun story.
It's conclusive.
And it's conclusive, which is nice. Yeah.
Funny how
we're gonna go fight that town. Credits. Hit the credit. No. Next is Warcraft at number 7. A half of a solid movie. A half of a great movie, actually. No. Half of a great movie. Other half of a dope piece of shit. Number 8 is where we start diverging into our opinions. Number 8, because I always have to say my list personally is based off of rewatchability, discussion, and how much fun I have watching it. Those are the things there's quality, there's other aspects of it, but that's not really what the issue is. Do I have fun, and do I like rewatching it because I'm not somebody who likes rewatching movies? Number 8, because all that was prefaced to say X-Men Apocalypse is very fun. It's very bright as opposed to this movie. It's very colorful. There's zany fights. The character writing is shitty, but I think everyone's fun in it. Next is the Snyder Cut. It is it's longer than this somehow, but it's an okay movie with a lot of fucking big flaws. Like I said, it is okay on its own merit. And by that I mean it being the second cut.
Good on us for both saying that several times and not
Yeah. We didn't vom like when Chris forced us to watch that terrible movie. It was all his fault. Number 10, Transformers: Age of Extinction. Very silly piece of shit.
Oh boy.
It's one of the worst, but it's fun. That's fun shit. That's a fun shitty movie. Number 11 is, of course, the permanent tie of Troll 2 and Fantasy Island. Troll 2, only good with friends. Fantasy Island, mediocre mystery. That's whatever. Number 12, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, an insult to a great book series.
That is definitely the case.
Number 13, Banana Split / The Hug, a mediocre non-horror movie that was very cheap, but it wasn't overly offensive. And now, of course, the bottom 5, the worst things we've ever watched. Number 14, Resident Evil 2 Apocalypse. What a dumb fucking movie. A dumb movie that's an insult to fans, and I can't believe they did that to me. And speaking of a dumb movie that's an insult to fans, but somehow more boring and more insulting, number 15, let's see, that is 4 from the bottom, Monster Hunter. This was one of the worst movies that we've ever fucking done, and I was so pissed. I went in ready in my head to be like, you know what? I'm probably going to be a little biased like I am with Justice League and X-Men and Warcraft. I'm a huge fan of the franchise. I have hundreds of hours. I'm not going to be able to say anything negative about this movie. And then I watched it and I said, what the fuck? How could they fuck it up this fucking bad? How could they fuck my shit up this fucking bad? And I'm not like, one of those overly fans like, they didn't do this and they didn't do that and it was different, so it's bad. No. On its own merit, narratively, this was insulting. The isekai setup was stupid. The use of the fucking U.S. military, or not even, the NATO international military of no real country bullshit. Well, I put my wife in it as fucking Gen as the goddamn lead. She fist fights Tony Jaa. There's 50 minutes, half the movie. 50 minutes is more than half the fucking movie before a fucking monster is hunted, and it's killed in one hit. It's Nurcella, which sucks because Nurcella's cool. None of the monsters look. Well, I mean, look, they look beautiful. I'll say that they look beautiful, but The fucking behavior and the fucking setup of them is dumb as shit. This was terrible. I really was upset having watched this. And it's right next to number 16 on my list, Terror of Tiny Town. That shit sucked. 17 Bad Taste. What a gross movie. I can't believe I had to watch it twice. That was gross and boring. Whereas Terror of Tiny Town was just boring. Whereas this movie was boring and offensive. Monster Hunter. Now, last place, of course, on its own merit. Fucking our good friend, who's we're gonna hear from in a little bit, favorite movie of all time, The Lost Airbender.
The Lost
Airbender.
The Lost.
The worst thing. I hope we never watch anything worse than that. I really do. But this movie,
if we watch
this movie, was as insulting almost. Like, I can't think of anything I liked about The Last Airbender, but this fucking movie had the Diablos fight and the Rathalos fight, which I know you didn't like, but I liked a little bit. That's the only reason it bumped over the other two. The other three, because this was as bad as The Last Airbender to me as a Monster Hunter fan. And that is my list of 18 movies we've watched on this podcast so far. Do you have your list actually organized?
I do.
Do you need to rethink it?
No. Well, I'm going to go through the first 10.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, the first 10 are fine. Number 1, as always, Freddy Got Fingered. Greatest film of all time. Number 2, Road Trip.
Of course.
Honestly, I think it's because a film from the 2000s that's that, like, modern is impressive. The fact that it's aged.
Oh, yeah, we should probably say congratulations to Todd Phillips, maker of that movie, for his 7 nominations for Jokey Folie à Deux. Joker Folie à Deux, 7 Razzie nominations. Good job, Todd.
Oh, what, you've fallen so far. Listen, you got to make Road Trip 2. Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, everyone's
give us a call. Join the podcast. We'll help you script it out off script. Off camera here. We will help you write that film. Promise you, it'll be awesome. Number 3, Willy's Wonderland, because Nick Cage is incredible, and Nick Cage able to fucking communicate with no language is incredible. Number 4, Freddy Got Jason.
Freddy Got Jason. We both had a couple of them. We've honestly made that joke multiple times on this podcast in past episodes.
Listen, anything with
We've
Freddy,
both said it at least like twice or 2 or 3 times.
Anything with Freddy is gonna get bumped to the top. And Freddy versus Jason, Freddy got fingered. Freddy got Jason. Freddy.
Jason got fingered.
Freddy fingered Jason. All of it, super great.
Which he did do when he stabbed those fingers through his gloves, through his mask.
Number 5, Warcraft, because if Freddy didn't finger Jason, if Freddy had fingered Jason and the humans were out of that film, it would be incredible.
Yeah.
Because the orcs are awesome. Number 6, Star Wars Episode 3, because the bar's getting set low. Number 7, Fantasy Island, because upon rewatch, I enjoy the fact that I was able to have my wife, without me, apparently not listening to the podcast, and knowing we had already seen it in theaters, she brought it up, mentioned it, we watched it, and it was at the end of the film I was able to drop the line, "That was better than the first time I watched it." And she was shocked that I had never seen it before. And that alone gives us a few spots. Number 8 is Digimon the movie. Because it was a crazy mess, but I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it. Number 9 was Bad Taste, because I love the schlock. Number 10 is Troll 2, because that's a film I could watch right now with you and have a fantastic time.
Hell yeah.
But it's still 10, because if I didn't have these 6 beers and was watching it alone, I would have a bad time.
It'd be very boring.
Initially, this is where Monster Hunter might have been placed. Would have been either 11 or at 12, just after Banana Splits. And initially I thought, well, what do I appreciate more? A good film that could have been more, or a film that I think could not have gotten up anymore from where it's at, but is at the peak of what it could be. And that was where I was initially struggling. But hearing your list and thinking about everything, 11 officially is Banana Splits. Again, is it the greatest film ever?
Right. Yeah.
No, it could have been. A budget obviously could have fixed it, but looking at the films for what we got and everything, putting away money or stuff like, or even time, the film could not have gotten much better from what we had, and it was a peak of what it was. Number 12, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. And maybe I'm biased more so because the sequel is much better than it should have been.
Yeah.
Number 13, Terror of Tiny Town. It's a terrible film, but it also, probably we didn't even watch the complete film because it was so
fucked up. And
that film is probably lost to time.
Literally 100 years old.
and the fact that they made a film with that many little people that wasn't on MGM's budget of The Wizard of Oz is incredible. Number 14, X-Men Apocalypse. Fuck that movie. Number 15, Resident Evil 2 Apocalypse. Because the films after this I hate. And I can't justify saying that somehow the few effects of Resident Evil 2 were better than those.
Yeah. Also, I was going to say the finale was the exact same as this movie, you realize, right?
Pretty
Nemesis,
much.
Mila Jovovich was fighting Nemesis in between a bunch of helicopters. Just like she fought that Rathalos in a bunch of helicopters.
But the ending of that film didn't piss me off the same way.
No, yeah.
Because I could at least see... Honestly, it was a poor lead-up into a good payoff. This was a good lead-up into a poor payoff.
Oh, yeah.
16, The Last Airbender. And I agree with you. That's one of the worst things I've ever seen. But there are reasons for the anything below. Anything that goes sub Last Airbender has something so detrimental to it. As a film, as a product, that somebody should never have any ability to work in the film industry again. So number 17 is the Justice League. Because that is a film that was awful and terrible, and I hated it. And the fact that I even remember anything good about it was because it showed up at the very end of the film. And had that shown up sooner, or even the concept or idea of that being sooner, I would have completely forgotten it, because that was a mind-numbing 4 hours of terribleness. And fuck you. Number 18, Transformers Age of Extinction. Fuck you, Michael Bay. What the fuck? But at least you're not Paul Anderson, who directed the number 19 film on my list, Monster Hunter. And I dropped it so low because, again, I will say I don't think that this movie is a bad movie. I enjoyed more in this movie than I did a lot of the other films, especially from Banana Splits down. Everything from 11 below, there were things I enjoyed this movie and parts of this movie a lot more than those. There were things I can point to that say, this is better than that, and this is better than that. And I enjoyed this a hell of a lot, even longer. I enjoyed parts of this percentage-wise more so than this. But I can't, after hearing your list and thinking about it, I can't give it anything less than the worst spot on my list, because this movie was sabotaged. Purposefully or not, it was sabotaged by one person, and that is just inexcusable. And again, I left this film feeling angry. Like, that was why Fantasy Island was low on my list before. Was because the twist, when I learned it, as I learned it, pissed me off. And I've come to enjoy it more. That was on a rewatch. That movie went up, but on a rewatch, I got angrier at this movie because I saw things, and I said, "How do I dislike this movie? How do I not like this movie? How is this movie not better?" And then I watched it, and I was enjoying it up to a point, and it just, I mean, that talk about sticking the landing, not even sticking the landing when you shouldn't have been able to land. And then still finding a way to just piss it away. Mm-hmm. Paul Anderson, you need to come onto our podcast. And you owe us 3 stiff drinks. Mm. And when I say stiff drinks, I don't mean a single cup. I mean like 100 to 200 proof alcohol bottles. You owe us that. 3 of those for this film. Because unless you could somehow convince me otherwise, you are why this is a bad film. You are why we will not ever get a sequel, and you are why this podcast has gone on for 5 hours.
Yeah.
You
at this point,
fucked up this movie more so than anything else, and that is saying something.
Oh, yeah.
You had it. You were there. You fucking goddamn pulled an Ernest Biner at the 1-yard line in the 1988 AFC Championships. Cleveland Browns versus the Denver Broncos. At the 1-yard line, you fucking fumbled to a goddamn rookie. What the fuck?
Nice little mic blowout.
So plugs.
Yeah, plugs. Right? So, of course, we don't use that other social media website anymore.
Nope.
We are only at Matthew Lewis Podcast, at mlppodcast.bluesky.social. We already have a good amount of followers over there. TikTok also ML Podcasts. That's still up by the time this gets posted, whatever the fuck that is in the future.
Even though we're losing, you said we lost videos on TikTok, right?
Yeah, some of them we've had 2 things that are flagged so far. For some reason, the Justice League clip was flagged. I got to put a new one of those up. Man,
that one already got flagged for copyright stuff.
I mean, we didn't say or show anything weird anyway. But anyway, I'll more clips on the TikTok.
You don't throw the footage up, do you?
I know just like a still frame of the art. That's it. Just a still frame of the art that I use for the actual episode.
I think you need to have our pictures cover up their faces more.
I mean, whatever. We'll figure it out.
That's the only thing I can think of.
I'll tune into the algorithm and figure out how to get it to work better. Matthew Lewis Podcast, YouTube is probably where you're hearing this. Listen to old episodes of Movie Garbage. Listen to Action Tune Bros. We're covering a ton of really cool action tunes, bro. Listen to my other podcast, of course, The Forgotten Minotaur King. So I forgot about it for all these years. And still working on that second book entry, but maybe someday. Speaking of book entries, buy on my book, buy The Forgotten Minotaur King, still selling a couple copies of that bad boy. Patreon, I think it's still up. Matthew Lewis Podcast. Donate there. Money's nice. Everyone needs it. Okay, so before we get into the almost as long...
Wait, can I get my plugs out?
No plugs for you. Go ahead.
So, the other site, I haven't officially made my new Blue Sky account yet. I don't have a TikTok. You can find me at Father_Bohawk. I believe it's underscore on YouTube. Eventually gonna work. I have 2 completed runs that are monolocks. I guess spoilers. I did a Pokemon Diamond Nuzlocke using only bug types, using hardcore rules, and a Pokemon Black Nuzlocke using only fire types.
Hell yeah.
I have completed both those. So I guess spoilers, I beat it. But it was both of them were a lot of fun. And I am currently back to streaming White 2 Kaizo at this very moment on Twitch, Father_Bohawk. At this very moment, I am on run 76. I just made it to Undella Town with the it's one of the toughest fights. It's the rival fight before you get out. Get past that. I mean, we got to run. Getting to this point is very difficult. I've only done it a handful of times. And I don't think I've ever lost a run at him. It's a rough fight, though. Anyway, I'm on Twitch there, so basically Twitch.
Yeah, I have a Twitch too. I forgot to mention Matthew Lewis Podcast. I never use it practically though, except for Monster Hunter and Mortal Kombat. I switched that's the last 2 times I've streamed.
I've thought about streaming, and maybe, hey, listen, if people listen
it's
to
pretty
this,
easy on the PS4.
well, say if people want, I've thought about streaming like more Monster Hunter stuff. Like honestly, like grabbing up Rise and connecting that and streaming Rise.
Yeah, that'd be
so if anyone wants to watch me stream Monster Hunter more,
it's probably pretty
tell
popular.
me.
It's gonna get more popular when the new game comes out, which is probably going to air way after that game's been out for a bit, but we'll see.
I mean, listen, I know it's 5 hours. You got to put extra stuff in here, but
I mean, we're at 5 hours, and we're about to add another 1 hour of Ben's opinions, and then who knows how many of Chris's, but we'll see in the future. We're about to listen to those in a moment. But before that, okay, so this piece of shit who's responsible for all of this, Paul W.S. Anderson's made a lot of bad movies. One of them, the one movie that I think of his that I think is objectively enjoyable, that I do defend a little bit, is Alien vs. Predator. I think Mortal Kombat's fucked up. I think Resident Evil movies are weird. He has some other shit on there that I don't really care about. But I like the Alien vs. Predator movie, the first one. I think the second one's enjoyable too, and it has some fun aspects.
On its own merit?
On its own merit, no. Not even on its own merit. It's pretty shitty on its own merits. But no, I think the first one is a fun movie that's completely out of pocket of either of those franchises, but it is an enjoyable little crossover movie. Now...
real quick, I'll say, I actually, when I first watched that first one, I remember... There was two scenes I will always remember. One, there's a scene where a guy gets zooped out of nowhere. Like, it was hysterical. I remember watching that with a bunch of friends, and we died laughing when we were watching it. And also, I remember pausing it while watching it at a scene where like the predator is in the scene and the alien is like in the shadows, but like visible. Yeah. And there's actually my phone wallpaper for a while because it was one of those like badass pauses.
It's a fun, cool shot. Crossover movies. So now, Ed, you have the opportunity. Now I also had Ben and Chris chime in on their opinion between these two. So two crossover films. Well, we'll see what their opinions are once we listen to it. But the two movies. The first option. Ed, how familiar are you with the Grudge series? Have you seen any of them?
I know that there's a little ghost boy in one because of Scary Movie 3.
Okay. Have you seen the Ring movies?
I have not, and of course I know the basics on them.
Okay. So you've never seen Sadako versus Kayako, a.k.a. The Ring versus The Grudge?
No, I have not.
Yeah, that's movie number 1. We'll get deep into J-horror of the fucking history of those two movies and how that movie utterly fucks up the entire premise of both of those franchises to make this movie happen. It's very stupid. Unless we do the other movie. Recently, I've been following a YouTuber named Quentin Reviews who has this like 40-hour long thing about Nickelodeon cinematic sitcom, the Nickelodeon sitcom universe, all those TV shows and the arcs that it's been through, and of course in recent times the Quiet on Set doc about Dan Schneider and all his crazy disgustingness. But he has like a 40-hour long series covering all of iCarly, all of Victorious, all of Sam and Cat, which is incredibly funny. I've never watched those shows in my life, but he is an incredibly humorous fucking YouTuber, and his series is really fantastic. I suggest everyone check it out, including the doc Quiet on Set. But there was a 3-episode made-for-TV movie called iParty with Victorious that was an iCarly and Victorious crossover movie. Now, you may think, well, that can't possibly be counted as a movie. It's longer than Terror of Tiny Town, so it counts. So, the choices are Sadako versus Kayako or iParty with Victorious.